Welcome to the show. I'm James.
I'm David.
I'm Riley.
And today we are discussing Avatar, The Way of Water, a.k.a. Avatar 2.
Why'd you say it like that?
I don't know, that's just how it reads to me. We'll laugh, we'll argue, we might get a little too into it, but at the end of the day, they're just movies.
Spoiler alert, bro.
I knew you were going to go that way with it.
Bro, what?
Bro.
That's how they speak in this movie.
You like chat,
bro.
Bro.
Hey, blue bro.
Hey, this script was written 10 years ago, bruh. Next week, Joker, The Redux. Some of you may know our first ever episode was Joker. Never released it.
Nope.
You guys want to hear it. You're going to get the closest thing, which is us redoing it. That's next week. It's our final episode.
Wow.
Be there or be square.
The original's on Flowplane.
Really?
I think so.
Is it?
I don't know. I'll have to check.
I think
Oh,
we've
it might
talked
be.
about it. I don't know if we ever actually did
possible.
that. We may do that. There's also a Lost American Psycho episode, too.
It's true.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's a few episodes that were never,
like
never actually
Candyman.
recorded.
Or we.
Oh, Candyman never. That was a technical
yeah.
issue, so that's why that one didn't happen. But that one doesn't like exist on our server, but
yeah.
those other two do.
They're out there somewhere. On
Anyways,
the internet.
David, what are you giving this movie out of 10?
Not all spectacle is created equal. I'm sorry, this is a long one. Not all spectacle is created equal. Usually it tickles our reptile brain, pacifying our need for diversion just enough to fall into standby 2 hours at a time. Yes, Avatar 2 is pure spectacle, but it reaches deeper into the human psyche, scratching some quasi-spiritual itch, grasping for connection with nature that sits at the furthest reaches of the human soul. And yet it's still kind of a crappy movie. I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10. I liked it.
Wow.
I liked it a decent amount. I liked it.
Man, I love David's slogans where I just have no idea what's happening until the end.
How cool would it be to have a little ponytail that can like fuck other people though, you know?
No,
I keep looking at my dog and being like, I want to bond with you. If I can just connect your tail to my
That'd be
ponytail,
awesome.
just be like,
they just
lick that plate.
They figured out USB-C before we did. It's just like it's a universal connector for everything.
Let's have your slogan.
Here's my slogan. I'm gonna play a video. Okay.
This is novel.
I'm just gonna play it for you, and then you can.
There he is.
And then I'll
That's
talk
Max
after.
Landis.
Ready?
Right? That's him?
That's him.
You were the chosen one, James! They gave you $1 billion to make a zillion of your Blue People movies! And everyone said the first one was bad like Fern Gully and Last of the Mohicans, and I liked Avatar, and you fumbled the bag! James Cameron! Avatar 2! It isn't good! It's not bad in the way like a bad movie like the Rise of Skywalker is bad. It's not bad like a Transformers movie. You enjoy it while you're watching it. But then it's an empty movie! It's an empty world!
I see you, John Landis.
That's Max Landis.
Max Landis.
John's the dad.
So
Yeah.
what? Give the rating out of 10 then?
I'm giving it a 7 out of 10 because, like you said, visual spectacle.
There's a slogan on a slogan now.
Pretty basic narrative. I was actually pissed at the end.
Really?
Yeah, like I was pissed off. I was
wanna
like, "Fuck you,
talk
James
about
I
Cameron."
needed to
that.
piss at the
Yeah.
end.
I want to talk. Well, I'm going to talk about
Yeah.
that. The bad news is you're going to have to leave the theater to go to the bathroom during this movie. The good news is you can safely do that at any point during the first 2 hours. The last hour, though, someone's pants gonna be wet, bruh.
What? Okay.
Yeah. I remember being like in the theater like half an hour, being like, "This sucks. This sucks."
Yeah.
Half an hour in?
But then I was like 2.5 hours in, and I was like, "This rules."
Jeez.
So yeah, it's kind of all over the place. 6.5 out of 10.
Wow, we're all
Wow.
in agreement.
That sounded like you were going to be higher than us.
No.
Why?
Well, you said it rules.
The end.
The end, the last like major action push, whaling, attack the ship or Titanic stuff.
That's true.
That was all pretty epic.
Yeah.
But like, all those like montages, like we're swimming. Like,
Well,
fucking
even
suck.
the intro, I think, is so self-indulgent. It's so long, and the only thing that matters is like the end part of it, and they're just resetting what the end of back to what it should have just kind of continued to be.
That pissed me off.
Yeah.
The end of the first movie, they're like, okay, we pushed the humans out, the humans left. Cool, it's our planet again. And then they spend the first 10 minutes of this movie being like, just joking, humans are back.
Yeah, and then they kind of had
what?
to like a year later being like, yeah, they've been here for a year, and it's like, why did you even fucking bother?
It's so
Yeah.
cheap.
Yeah.
So cheap.
We needed to know that the kids had a nice childhood free of stupid humans, and then the humans ruined it.
Except that they had such human influence that they speak like fucking 2013 humans.
Yeah.
It's so annoying.
It's
Anyways,
so
that's
Bro.
later. Bro!
Bruh.
Anyways,
Bro, we're
what do we do
aliens,
next
bruh.
on this show?
Well, sponsor.
The sponsors.
That's
Let's
right.
go,
Do
Secret
you know what
Lab.
won't make you blue?
We're the Blue Man Group. Thanks to Secret Lab for sponsoring this video. Secret Lab chairs are designed to keep you comfortable for those long nights of work and play and sitting watching Avatar. Their Titan Evo 2022 series chair offers 4-way lumbar support. It comes with a magnetic memory foam head pillow, and it's offered in different upholsteries like hybrid leatherette, soft weave fabric, and Napa leather, the most exclusive leather that humans are killing for on Pandora. Best of all, a 5-year extended warranty is included along with a 49-day return policy. So you're covered if anything goes wrong. Learn more about Secret Lab at lmg.gg/secretlabtjm. It's in the game. Thanks to Manscaped for sponsoring today's episode. Manscaped has a lawnmower 4.0. It's a razor. That's what they call it. It's designed to keep your family jewels safe with their ceramic blades featuring skin-safe tech to reduce nicks and cuts, even if you're a Navi.
Long and body hair,
Don't
today.
don't
Long
cut
and
that
slender
ponytail,
peepees.
though. You'll be in trouble.
Yeah, all you have is the little squiggly tendrils. Like the ponytail around it's gone. Leave the cables at home with this new wireless charging system that is compatible with most Qi charging pads. It's cordless, it's waterproof, it gets 90 minutes of use on a full charge. So head to manscaped.com/TJM20 and get 20% off and free shipping today. Thanks to Vessi Footwear for sponsoring today's show. Vessi Footwear claims to be 100% waterproof no matter the weather. And you know what? I've been wearing them in the snow. Always moving? Because your landlord kicks you out? Just joking, it's a different kind of moving. Vessi's everyday moves are the shoes for you. With enhanced breathability and added support, this style is perfect for the adventurous or those looking for something sportier. Featuring a pull tab to take them on and off with ease, no laces a lot of the time, which is dope. Vegan suede lace cages, on the ones that do have laces. You don't need to use them, they're slip-ons. Extra midsole cushioning and the same waterproof Dymatex technology. You'll want to wear them everywhere. Even in the snow. Check them out at Vessi.com/TJM and use code TJM.
I told you already.
Do it. That's it, guys. We're here.
Oh, man.
Let's talk about the goodies.
No, let's talk about the story.
Synopsis. Here we go. More than a decade after the Navi. It's Navi, right?
It's Navi.
Navi?
You're
Yes.
trolling, right?
Navi is the Zelda one.
I don't know what you're talking
I
about.
always
Navi.
forget.
No, they're both Navi.
Steve Vai is the guitarist.
But you have to pronounce the apostrophe, so it's
Not V.
No.
More than a decade after the Navi repelled the human invasion
the
of
Navy, actually.
Join the Navi. The human invasion of Pandora, former human and now long blue people chief Jake Sully raises a family with his wife Neytiri.
That's a douche name, Jake Sully.
Jake Sully? Yeah, he'd beat you up in school.
Apologies to all Jake Sully's listening.
He raises a family with his wife Neytiri, consisting of his sons Netayam and Loak, daughter Tuk, adopted daughter Kiri, who was somehow born from the lifeless avatar of scientist Grace Augustine,
We don't know yet.
and sort of adopted son Spider, the human biological son of the deceased Colonel Quaritch. Wouldn't you know it, the humans come back, having bred recombinant Navi. It's so hard for me.
What?
Navi.
Navi.
Having bred recombinant Navi avatars with the minds and memories of dead soldiers, including Quaritch, who is tasked with taking Jake down to stop the Navi's guerrilla resistance. Quaritch?
His name is so complicated. Can
Quaritch.
his name should just be like Mean, Mr. Mean, or
Is it like Query? Quaritch? Quaritch?
Let's call him Q.
Q-
We got to do this a whole episode. Just call him
Quaritch catches the children who Jake and Neytiri manage to rescue, except for Spider, who Quaritch recognizes as his son. With Spider's knowledge endangering the forest Navi, Jake and his family decide to exile themselves, endangering the island-dwelling Navi instead. Just someone else. They learn the ways of the reef, but it's not all smooth sailing. The chief's kids tease the Sullys for having demon blood, and Jake's impulsive younger son Loak fights back. When he's forced to apologize, they trick him, leaving him stranded in dangerous waters, but he's saved by and befriends Payakan.
And that whole sequence was like a half hour.
It was a long sequence.
Degrassi.
Payakan, an outcast member of an intelligent, pacifistic whale-type species called Tulkun, with whom the reef people share a deep bond. Meanwhile, after Kiri briefly talks to her quote-unquote mother, Grace, by linking with the spirit tree, she has a seizure. Jake calls his stupid human friends to come fix her, allowing Quaritch to track them to the islands, and she's healed by the chief's wife. Anyway, Quaritch commandeers a whaling vessel which is hunting Tulkun because their brain juice stops humans from aging.
Oh, no.
And starts oppressing Navi and killing Tulkun to draw Jake out. Loak and the other kids find Payakan being chased by Quaritch, who once again captures some of them, which draws Jake and Neytiri out. But seeing his soul brother imperiled, Payakan attacks the whalers, triggering a fight that kills most of the crew and critically damages the vessel. Jake's older son, Netayam, rescues Loak and Spider, but is killed doing so. Jake faces Quaritch, who uses Kiri as a hostage. When Neytiri does the same with Spider, Quaritch at first denies caring about him, but lets Kiri go when Neytiri cuts Spider across the chest. Jake defeats Quaritch before everyone gets trapped in the sinking vessel. Loak saves Jake, Kiri uses her mysterious powers to summon sea creatures and save Neytiri and Tuk, and Spider rescues Quaritch, then tells him to fuck off and rejoins the Sullys just to throw a wrench in things. After Netayam's funeral, the reef people finally welcome the Sullys as part of their clan, and Jake figures out that running away won't keep his family safe, so I guess it's time to fight back. Better cancel those plans to visit the Sand Navi or whatever.
Fire people.
The Fire Navi.
Well, it's the
Red
only
ones?
They only have a year in between sequels, so they don't have the money or budget to, make a new tribe.
I
Gotta
feel like-
recycle the water tribe.
I feel like we will talk about the positives, but I feel like going through the synopsis for this thing just made it like it underlined for me how ridiculous this plot is. Like, it just drags on. It's like James Cameron wanted to make Alien Planet Earth instead,
Yes.
but he had to put a plot in there. But then he spent so long on like other parts of it.
No,
that
it's
was like-
because they wrote the scripts for all 4 of these sequels at the same time. And so he's looking at this script like, okay, this is basically act 1 for this whole saga. So I need to introduce all the kids who are going to be the protagonists of the future movies. So I have
Wait.
to spend so much time building up all these kids.
Wait, this is act 1 of 4?
Well, there's up to 7.
7?
Oh,
Yeah. So
I thought there was 5 in total.
I think there's 5
Including the
currently
first
like
one.
working on, but it's like I think they could go up to 7. But he also said if this underperforms, he can wrap it on 3. So I think they have like multiple outs, and like they're gonna kind of figure it out as they go.
But the point being is that this is serving to set up future movies, so they have to. They're doing lay work in this one that maybe hurts it as a standalone movie, but will pay dividends later in future movies because they're like, oh, cool, Loak, he's the protagonist, he's the new Jake Sully in Avatar 3, and I know who he is, and I care about him, and I understand that he has this guilt for his brother's death, and he's got this thing with Spider now, so it's like all set up, and that could be good.
Yeah.
But
Right.
in the meantime, we have to just like see this high school drama go with the other leaders'
Louise.
kids.
I feel like along those lines, a big issue I have with the movie is just the way people speak, and like we made fun of bro, but even like specific lines.
Okay, wait. This is negative stuff. We got to stop. We got to
Yeah.
start with the good
Okay,
stuff.
so
Let's start with the good. So obviously the visual effects.
Yes.
It's wild.
They're great. They're
it
better than
is
the first one. I
fantastic.
watched the first one the night before seeing this, which was a great call because I totally forgot so much about that
I
movie.
forgot
actually,
that Jake Sully was the chief.
Yeah.
at the end.
That's a bad.
I know. There's so many like weird like white savior things going on, but we'll talk
positive,
about that.
positive.
Positive. Yeah, I watched the first. Well, I watched most of the first one in like the past month or 2 or something because I knew that we were gonna do number 2, and yeah, I mean. The first one was, I think a lot of people like give it a bad rap because it's like, oh, big blue people sex with their tails or whatever. But it's like, it's not a bad movie.
no, it's a
pretty
good movie.
Yeah.
It has things that annoy me about it, which unfortunately are present in this one. Is basically like how on the nose and one dimensional the villains are. Like I actually hate Quaritch and or Q, and the fact that. In the opening of this movie, he's back. I was like, no.
We are having
Yeah.
such a hard time staying on the positive.
Let's focus on the visuals.
The visuals, though.
The visuals aren't like I was saying in my synopsis. They're not just like wow. They're like they affect you. I think they're so powerful in a way where like I felt emotional on some of the visuals, and like my brain is like, you're a fucking idiot for feeling emotional to these visuals. Like it's all created in a computer, but there's something like quasi spiritual.
Well, because it's not all created in a computer. That's the best part. Is they do the motion capture.
Yeah.
And to the great extents they went for this movie to do the motion capture, they did it underwater, which I believe hadn't been done.
Yep.
And like, did you know there's a new world record set?
No.
For longest time holding an actor held breath for the filming of a movie underwater. The previous record holder, no surprise, was Tom Cruise from from Mission Impossible
5.
Ghosts. I don't know which
I think
one.
it's the scene where he like dives under the underwater server. Maybe that's 4.
yeah.
Maybe that's 5.
What's the name of it?
4 is Ghost Protocol, but I think it was 5, which is Fallout.
I don't think so, but it doesn't matter.
No.
The point is, now frickin' Rose from Titanic has that over Tom Cruise, which is dope. She held her breath for 7 minutes.
That's wild.
Wow.
Isn't that insane?
That's crazy.
I mean, maybe it's not insane to free divers, but yeah, she did it. And so everyone, a lot of the crew or cast had to learn how to free dive and shoot all these scenes underwater to get the mocap underwater, which was new technology. Yeah. And that's just better than having full CG characters, like completely CG.
I think that the efforts to capture the motion capture underwater really pays dividends, because my brain stopped fighting me, 30 minutes in, and just accepted that this was real.
Yeah.
Even though it's not, like, I stopped processing it as CG. You're just this is real. This is nature. This is like real water.
I think that's what the first one did for people too. Going back and watching it now, you can, or like, that's the CG, like you can tell, but it's still very good. Yeah. And this one is definitely, I don't know, 50% better or something. Like if you did side by sides with the faces
are
so
insane
detailed.
in this one.
See, when you were talking about like getting emotional at the effects and stuff, I was kind of like, no, don't feel stupid, because I feel like I did have multiple moments where I was like, wow, just like looking.
Look how hot that teenage fish girl is. Holy.
That was interesting. I was just kind of like, okay, we're just looking at a hot teen girl right now.
The design language of the Navi is just like, just super slender, running around in thongs.
Yeah. I know.
It feels weird. You're like, oh no, they're like
it gave me
sexy
like,
Navi, but
it gave me that like kind of like hesitation that you guys know that I get, where I'm like, James Cameron, are you just trying to make some sexy CG people for you? Anyways,
well, it's Hollywood, so they're all pedophiles.
Yeah, sure.
Oh right?
Right, am I right?
Balenciagas.
You're looking at the audience, you're like, wait. I was just talking about the
Slender,
the alien
sexy
fish
Navi
and
butt.
stuff, the alien reef and the plants and the environments. Like when they're swimming through the water, you do 100% forget that it's CG because it looks so cool. And I think I was like also just in awe at the reinterpretation of some Earth concepts into like the alien context.
Pandora version of an octopus.
Yeah, the Pandora version of like a jellyfish, the whale, the shark, but like and even like totally new things like those. Okay, well, it's kind of stupid, but like
the fairy wings,
the wings that give them air.
See, I kind of like that.
Yeah.
in a weird, stupid alien fantasy thing.
Yeah.
I think, for me, the movie takes off as soon as they dive in the water.
Yes.
I think the first 30 minutes of the movie, where it's like a lot of the same visuals as the first one, but refined. I was like, this is pretty cool. And there's some really great shots, which we'll talk about. But
I don't know
think
if I agree that it takes off.
For me, as soon as they dive in the water, that's when like the CG starts working for me in a real way.
Sure.
Not story-wise, but like connection with the nature CG really works.
I kind of agree.
There.
I kind of felt like if they were gonna do like a time jump at the beginning of the movie, they could have started the movie with them exiling. They could have just done like this happened and then that caused us to have to do, and then boom, we're at the water people, and just save half an hour.
Well, especially if they're going to use the contrivance of like a voiceover narration to explain stuff, like just condense it. I really didn't like the intro, but I will say that it signaled a better use of visual design for storytelling. I really noticed it first with the spaceships as they land. So you have like the first 10 minutes of them like, Pandora's great. Here's my son. Here's my other kid.
Yeah.
But then when the spaceships land and it's like the inverted V and it's blasting the fire, just the shape of it, the color of it, the way it's like approaching, that's like a visual design. Like you want something menacing, you design it just like those spaceships, and they're weird and they're like futuristic, but they're cool.
Yeah.
And then the way the fire like cascades out, absolutely fantastic.
I mean, I felt simultaneously like awe and like admiration because it looked so cool, but at the same time I was like, this is not how you just land. Like they must have ways of landing on planets that don't set off a
I felt like that
nuclear
too.
bomb.
It was like these giant jets just to keep you hovering so you can like lower a crate.
Yeah, like
to be fair, they were returning with like war intention, so maybe they want like terraform and create a little platform for themselves. So, like they need to clear forest so that they can build their thing.
True, but it just seemed
that's
like
definitely headcanon. But.
It just seemed so unnecessary because then now I was thinking like, do they have ways of landing on planets that don't involve like little nukes? But anyways, yeah, to keep going on like the good visuals, I feel like the pacing in the movie was really slow at times. It's a very long movie, but I feel like I almost didn't care. I was like, I enjoyed myself the whole movie. There were things that bothered me, but there wasn't ever a time where I was like, oh, get me out of here, you know, because it's so visually interesting.
I had that a bit because I had to pee so bad.
Yeah.
I peed before, but I did a sauna session before, which was so dope. But then I was drinking a ton of water, right? Yeah. So I peed before the show, but then I had to like pee again. And I kept every scene. I was like, I really got to pee, but I don't want to. Is this a scene I can miss? And every time that scene ended, the answer was, yeah, could have missed that one.
Yeah.
The scene I ended up missing was the one where Luwak like bonds with the whale.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I got back in the theater and they're like, you bonded with him? And I was like, okay, I'm caught up.
Yeah. It's a confusing scene. We'll get into that. But yeah, I feel like Avatar is confusing because a lot of people think that no one likes it because all like the filmy people think, they kind of see what it is.
I mean, top grossing movie of all time. Like, right. Doing some things right.
But like, yeah, people are into it. And I feel like when you pay this much attention to the world and the lore, especially the lore that people don't even care about, like there's the names of the tribes, the names of the animals, there's all these like the brain juice from the whales they have a name for it. It's called Amrita. I didn't put that in this synopsis because I'm like, no one cares.
They're trying to do all this world building.
Yeah, so there's like tons of world building. There's tons of attention to detail. The effects look amazing. And I feel like it's a Star Wars effect where even like the vast majority of people, like some people like Star Wars, like me, because of like the themes and like the original trilogy for like the arc it presents or whatever. And I'm not going to say most people don't, but I think that most people are into Star Wars. It may be on top of that stuff just because of the cool shit. It's got cool ships and there's lightsabers and there's force powers.
Always make everything with Star Wars.
No, I'm just
bring it back.
It's an analogy. It's an analogy. So that's why I think that there are going to be lots of people who are still into Avatar, even though these movies are like.
But instead of being here for the cool shit, they're here for the sexy aliens. I honestly could. After this ended, I was like, I totally understand how there's like cosplay like Avatar porn. It totally lends itself to that.
Well, yeah, they're kind of sexy.
Yeah. Well,
up there, I said it.
I think that the world building is the movie's greatest strength, and I think that the apparent effort that James Cameron put into hashing out the details really sells the CG in a way where it's not just like flashy. It's well-rounded and real because there's like an intellectual thought behind everything. It's not like random cool jellyfish. It wasn't some random CG guy who was like, this kind of weird take on a jellyfish looks cool. And James Cameron was like,
right.
Like James Cameron drew it and like he was like, I'm thinking about this. He like smoked some weed and he's like, all right, let's fucking do this.
Yeah, and he's like thinking about the ecosystem because it's like obviously there's a huge ecological metaphor here. I don't even know if you call it a metaphor. It's just like a simile. It's just like straight up in your face. But yeah, that's so that they're thinking about this and that there's like a message obviously and so it doesn't seem like the George Lucas thing where it's just like I thought he could have like a cool nose.
Yeah, 100%. And I really appreciate that because it's like, that's I think what engaged my brain the most because the plot is very simple and it could have been a 90-minute movie.
Yeah.
They try to introduce a bunch of characters, but a lot of them only serve a purpose. They're not real characters. And it's sloppy and the writing is kind of just, you can just tell he didn't care. And he did the bare minimum to get the structure of the film, the skeleton. And like you said, it's an investment into later.
I think he cared. I think that's just the limit of the ability.
Maybe. I mean, like, I feel like he could have put more work into better dialogue. That's where I felt it a lot, where it was like, it's just, why did he put all this effort into world building and all the details of the world? Why didn't he put effort into like the way the Na'vi speak?
I know, so annoying.
It's so annoying.
Why do all your kids have different accents? It doesn't make any sense.
Wait, who? All the biological kids. Yeah, wait, Kiri doesn't have an
Why
accent.
would Kiri speak
Well, she
differently?
speaks like Sigourney Weaver, but pitched up, which is stupid. That's a nitpick.
Well, actually,
Let's talk-
that's sort of a like a semi-positive for me because I was like, there are times where I was like, okay, this seems like Sigourney Weaver trying to sound like a teenager, but there are other times where I'm like, that surprisingly works quite well.
It
Like I
wasn't too
believe
bad.
that was the kid's voice, and I'm kind of like, there's like a mysterious quality to her. She's got powers or whatever. Maybe she like is wise beyond her years or something. Like I don't know.
I really like how they roll out her powers. Like you kind of just like see her in the background, like doing stuff, and then it eventually builds out, and you can tell in the later movies that's going to be a really important
Yeah.
element. But in this, it's just like one. It just saves the family.
It
She's
was-
going to be a Jedi.
It was, well, she basically, I mean, yeah, she's basically like
Neo.
I'm trying to think of a superhero there's superheroes in both DC and Marvel who can like talk to animals and get them to do stuff. I think
Aquaman.
Aquaman can do that, but there's Animal Man.
Seaman.
I think DC has Animal Man and he can do that.
but not Beast Boy, because he just turns into animals.
Beast Boy just turns into it.
Let's talk about that final
Wait.
action set piece, though.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Oh,
do it.
man.
My next thing I was going to say is just like kind of in the end of that action set piece where Jake and Neytiri are just fucking destroying the soldiers
That was
awesome.
so sweet because
Oh my
I was like,
God,
man,
yeah.
they kind of did Neytiri dirty in this movie. She
Yeah.
kicked so much ass in the first one.
Yeah.
And this one, she's totally sidelined and just sitting
Yeah.
at home while other people do
I'm a
stuff.
sad mom.
And then they were like, nuh-uh, she's coming to play. And then she comes in, she does her signature flying through the air, shooting you with her like leg,
Yeah.
like Captain Morgan stance in the air kind of.
Oh, yeah,
thing she
totally.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that standoff where the bad guys are like, "We got your kids, Jake, come out," and he like kind of goes forward,
Yeah.
and you're like, "Oh, how are they gonna get out?" And then the whale just fucking
Yeah.
jumps on the thing, and then they just all attack. That was like a 10 out of 10 moment. I was
Except
pretty fucking
They all
hyped.
attack and then where do they go? They're not in the scene after that. The whale
Yeah.
comes in for a diversion and there's a whole army of reef people.
Yeah, you
Where'd
see
they go?
One random dude shoot a helicopter, I think.
Yeah, those reef people really kind of pieced out eventually.
Yeah,
hey?
they're just gone.
Well, it's like the captain or the chief's kid did, you know? He'd like bring them out and then just like duck out while the other main
Yeah.
people
like
fight.
father, like son. Yeah.
yeah, the daughter is there, I guess.
Yeah.
It really all came together when they're holding the two sons, like Mexican standoff, and they had built it up from the beginning of the movie that Neytiri was like, this kid should be with the humans. Like, I don't consider him on the same level as my other kids.
Yeah.
And so when she took him hostage, I was like, oh yeah.
Even before that,
was dirty.
I love the shot when he looks so scared of her. He's like kind of standing behind the corner and she's just killing everyone, and he's terrified of her
Yeah,
because he
yeah.
knows like she doesn't give a fuck about him.
Right.
Yeah,
What,
so
does
that
she
was
not?
all really well earned.
Does she not?
I don't think she really cares. She sees him as an outsider and like a part of the interlopers on their planet that have made their life like just worse.
I mean, does she not? She takes him hostage and then like threatens to kill him and then slices him across the chest.
Right. And
like,
but that's at the end, and
she'll take care of him, but like she will sacrifice this guy for her kids.
I feel
for
like
sure.
I would have. I feel like that moment would have had so much more weight if we had seen Neytiri and Spider interact in any way. But we don't, and so we have no idea what their relationship is until at the end he's like, "Oh no, I'm scared of her," and then she slices him across the chest. If we had seen them interact earlier, and she was kind of like begrudgingly accepting him as part of the family, and then at the end she's like, "No, fuck you," it would feel like such a betrayal. It'd be so cool.
There is kind of a shot early on where it's like when Jake's narrating, talking about it, and she just gives a like, but it's in a movie that is so on the nose, it's kind of a very subtle moment.
Well, the problem though, I agree with Riley in concept, but the issue is that you need Neytiri. You can't have the audience hate Neytiri because this is Hollywood, baby. So like you got to sell
Well,
T-shirts.
I don't think we would.
So
I don't think it's hating her. I mean, already it like looks pretty bad. I feel like if there was some sort of like, I think if they laid the groundwork for her, for us to like empathize with her, why she doesn't like accept him.
yeah, but the reason she doesn't accept him is just because he's a different race. He's like, yeah, not one of us.
Well,
probably
and-
should have segregation.
But also, he's the son of Quaritch, the guy who like almost.
Yeah,
fucked
that has
up.
nothing to
I
do
feel like
with
that's
him,
less
though.
of it. Yeah,
He's basically just like we don't talk about his mother at all. But
Who?
Quaritch.
Spider's mother.
yeah.
It
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
just seems like Quaritch knocked somebody up and was like, yeah, there's seed of mine's running around on the
Yeah, and
station
then I
somewhere.
guess his mom. I guess Spider's mom went back to Earth.
Like she really fucked him. She didn't stay, or maybe she died. I don't
That's
think
a- I
did
didn't
they
even-
speak to that at all.
I can't remember. You guys watched the first one recently. Is she in the first one?
No.
No.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't have any romantic.
All he does is
thing.
fight stuff, and have those scars on
The
his head.
mom is the general in this movie, but they just never address it because she's so
She's the
she's so
worst.
badass.
That's the
No, I
worst
just made that
character
up.
in this movie,
I just
yeah.
made that up. That's not true. Just
No, I hate that casting. I like couldn't take her seriously.
Why? Is she from something else?
She's just like usually in kind of like semi-comedic roles. I don't know. She
Yeah,
just
who is that? What's
worked
Edie
for-
Falco?
Edie Falco.
Worked for me.
Wait,
No.
she's the mom from Sopranos.
Yes. So that's where she's
I
like
didn't even
actually
recognize her
legitimate,
as that.
fair. But I don't know. She just doesn't work for me.
I like those exoskeletons that are more agile. She was like
Yeah.
hitting the bag with.
That's pretty
Those
cool.
are cool. They make sense.
And the CG
They do.
for it was cool when she like points and the arm points. I don't know. I like that. What did you guys think of Spider though?
I actually liked him. I was with a friend who was kind of annoyed by Spider the whole movie. And say what you will about the guy running around in the loincloth. I feel like just because he's hanging out with people with pants on doesn't mean he would put pants on. It made sense to me that he was naked the whole
yeah.
time.
Totally,
so.
totally made sense.
But
I just thought
I liked the character. I thought it was interesting.
I was glad because early on I wrote, I was like, if he betrays the Na'vi, I'll be like furious. So I was glad that that never really happened. But then they round out his character nicely that he saves Quaritch. I think that was a
which
good
pissed
little...
me off.
Oh, really?
But I understand why they did. Well, it pissed me off for a few reasons. One, I think it's like kind of illogical. I mean, it's his father, I guess,
And his father saved him.
biologically. And so that makes sense. But it also like, okay,
his father saved him. When?
Well, in this trade-off.
like, yeah, exactly. And
Did he?
but the thing
Yeah,
is,
because
with-
he could have like killed the Na'vi girl and let her kill him.
Oh, right,
so
right.
He stood down to save him.
yeah,
It sort
But
of makes sense.
So he kind of paid him back. That makes sense. But like, you know that this guy's never gonna stop until he like, kills all of you. So like, that's annoying. Like, thanks, asshole. And then the thing that annoys me the most is like, okay, Quaritch is gonna be the villain for this whole fucking franchise, isn't he?
Yes.
And he's the worst
Wait.
part of the movie.
I actually don't think so.
Yeah.
I think he'll have a redemption arc.
Honestly, yeah.
Well, he is. That's one saving grace of this film is that they're making him better now that he has this complex relationship with this
Yeah.
kid. He's complex in that he's himself. He's just a clone. So I hope that he like struggles with his identity and breaks away from his biological, like, you know, the originator and becomes his own person. So he's getting more interesting, but it's tough because
he sucks so much in the first one.
yeah, like the seed of his whole character is just such a one-dimensional,
Yeah.
on the
Well-
nose. It's like James Cameron wrote the soldiers and aliens who were just like, yeah, get some Semper Fi, and that was like in '88 or '92 or something, and we have those same damn characters. They're so cringe.
I know.
I could see him, instead of seeing it as fleshing out an alien character, as fleshing out a Terminator. And I think he's done that successfully. In Terminator 1, Arnold's the villain. In the second one, he's the hero.
Right.
And it's awesome and it's cool, like turn on it. And maybe at the end of the franchise, we'll now see Quaritch as like an interesting development of what we first saw.
Yeah.
But
The difference is though the Terminators are cool. Like the liquid metal Terminator, even when he's being a Terminator, is cool.
That's fair.
Whereas these villains, when they're just like, get some, I'm just like,
See-
they're so on the nose and cringe and
suck.
like unbelievable.
especially all the secondary characters, I'm like, I couldn't tell you a single thing about any of them.
Well, here's what they do. They high five when they're committing atrocities.
What, the
That's all you need to
The
know.
Navi Commandos.
They
Yeah.
commit atrocities with shitty Oakleys on and they fist bump.
I was gonna.
It's
I,
like two.
I did
Yeah,
think
it's
it was
too bad.
kind of cool how like these new Navi show up and they're like basically Navi, but now they're dressing like humans and they got this like douchebag sunglasses and everything. And
Well, the
I thought that was like just visually interesting to see them kind of like
They're like that in the first one.
no, but there aren't. Oh yeah, they do kind of wear the clothes, but in
They
this
do,
one,
yeah.
but then they gradually kind of like their goal is to assimilate into the culture. So then all of the human avatars, they kind of like slowly become more like with like they assimilate the culture or whatever.
They go all Predator.
And
you
in
know,
this
put
one,
some
they're
mud
just
on.
kind of like. It's just a lot more stark, and the contrast stays throughout the thing, where it's like they're basically like human super soldiers, dressed in their. own stuff.
I really didn't like that Quaritch got to tame one of the flying beasts so easily. I thought that was like kind of cheapens sort of the like
Really?
connection with nature thing where he can just like, you know, fall off a cliff with one and then comes up and he's like, yeah, nice.
Well-
because like I feel like in the first one it's like it's like a coming of age like rite in their culture, and it's like a big deal, like connecting with this beast. And like I think with the idea of, you know, the Na'vi being so one with the planet, with nature, having this person kind of just come in and command domestication of this animal feels like maybe they could develop it into a better idea later. Like maybe the beast will like, you know, be weakened by this,
Yeah.
like this,
Or there needed a shot, like it needed to be part of his like going native arc.
yeah.
You
And
know,
I think
where
that's
it's like
a cool
he's
way of
starting
doing
to get it.
Yes.
And he's like, huh.
Well, honestly, I think...
But they didn't have that shot.
Well, I think that's kind of how I read it overall. Like in the whole picture is of Quaritch actually being forced to spend time in the body of the Na'vi, like embedded in... Like seeing more of their culture firsthand and stuff, and like doing their rites, like taming one of these beasts. So then that's part of his. I was honestly surprised at the end that we didn't see the redemption arc in this movie.
100%.
Because like, and it makes sense because if there's 3 more movies or whatever, it's like fair enough. We need some time to do that. But given that he softened and saved Spider's life, gave in that moment, I was kind of like, oh, okay, maybe he'll have a moment here where he's like, oh, I'm just conflicted. But he wasn't. Then he woke up and he was just kind of like, no, let's go, son.
Yeah. I think you're right, where with 10 years down the road, with the understanding of where they're taking that character, we might be fine with that arc. But we can only review this movie now. And what they do with this character, it's teasing something, but then it's just, he's still so simple and shallow at the end, and it's frustrating.
So the thing that really bothered me, like you were saying, James, the humans in general are so one-dimensional. Mm-hmm. And so in the first movie, you kind of accept it because you're like, okay, this is the deal, right? It's like the humans are here.
They're here for unobtainium.
Yeah, and
unobtainium.
We're being introduced. And they're not all complete shit. You know, we have the scientists who are part of that faction who kind of like change sides. So it's like you have that nuance there. And in this one, there's no humans that show any nuance at all. I mean, we meet the whaler guys, and they go on and on and on about how, well, Jermaine Clement cast in a serious role, so
American
strange,
accent.
doing an American accent for
Such
some
a bad
reason.
accent.
He's like going on and on and on about it. Oh yeah, they're actually more intelligent than us and actually sophisticated. They have culture, music, they put on plays, like blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, so we're just, taking out the brain juice so we don't age.
No, but
he's the sympathetic scientist, right?
Yeah.
He's the complicit but sympathetic scientist, and which
you can
is
tell
great.
He has some conflict about it. Yeah,
he does. Which the great part is that he still dies.
Right.
I was
no, we don't see him die though.
I guess
we just see his boat overturned. Not as brutally as the actual whaler dude though. That was sick. And it's great that he gets his arm cut off because he cut off the fin of the whale. That was a nice little poetic George Lucas moment.
That was awesome. When he got pinned there, I was like just thinking about the stiffness and weight and pressure of that cord. I was like, oh, that would be awful. And then when his arm went flying, I was like, yeah, hell yeah.
No, it's gruesomely satisfying.
Satisfyingly gruesome.
Jermaine Clement on the boat, he's just like, he's like, when he's on the boat, he's about to die and they're about to get fucked up. And he's like taunting the other guy. Mm-hmm. He's like, oh, who's got the harpoon now? What is the other thing? I thought you were the intelligent species.
Yeah, that was lame.
And then they die. He's like, you're about to die. Why are you getting in these little jabs, dude?
I don't know.
Comic relief.
I feel like in general, the humans could use a little nuance. I get it, but it feels very much like 80s writing where the corporate powers are just so insensitive. And I think in 2020 you could do a more interesting take on corporate space travel and exploitation, where there's we're sustainable, we're this, we're that, but really they have no intention of doing. There's more modern aspects of it they could take instead of 80s, we're just pure evil oil barons here to extract and waste everything.
Yeah, it would have been way more interesting if they were virtue signaling and just on the surface level placating and being like, yeah, we're doing everything we can to build bridges with the Na'vi, but then
but
it's all just surface level.
Do you know who ContraPoints is?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
You do and you don't?
Who's ContraPoints?
What the heck? She's one of the big left-wing YouTubers. Anyways, on Twitter, she had a really great take on it. She's like, the movie is a self-righteous thematic hodgepodge of tepid liberal platitudes from 2006, as if Cameron watched Fahrenheit 9/11 and An Inconvenient Truth, was cryogenically frozen for 15 years, and then made a movie about it.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it's a boomer movie.
I just thought that was so great.
I think the scene that was most egregious in that aspect for me is when they suck the brain juice from the whale, and they're like, I'll waste the carcass, dude. What? Why wouldn't you at least try to utilize? I'm sure there's other aspects of this whale that are worth something, or at least try and hide that you're dumping the bodies. I know they were trying to draw out the Na'vi, but I don't know.
That's why they attach balloons to it. But otherwise, they were just going to blow it up, the carcass. And then Spider's like, you guys don't use it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I thought they attach balloons to it so they can like
They can more easily
get to
attack
it.
it. Yeah.
If they blow it up, then you might blow up some of the brain juice.
No.
What? When it's dead. After it's dead, they're gonna blow it up, are they not? And then they say,
they blow up
and then
the carcass.
Quaritch is like, don't blow it up. We want them to know it was us.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't. Sorry, I thought
You
you
meant
were-
like to blow up the balloons.
Yeah, I thought you
Which
meant balloons.
that's actually something I really think was well thought out. I think like their whaling technique was neat. And that sequence is heartbreaking. And like
Yeah,
that worked
yeah.
for me in like I think that was a scene I caught myself scowling at the screen. I was like, oh, fuck you. Fuck you, humans.
Yeah. Although from a movie perspective, it was kind of like, and now let's take a break to give you the moral message of the movie. Like this movie is about
And now for a message
don't
from our
harm
moral.
animals.
Yeah.
So, and then it also what that serves again. It's like a 20-minute sequence, and it just goes here's all the capabilities of this whaling vessel, so you can see how they're going to work in the main action sequence in a few minutes.
But you could definitely have tightened it up. I think the whole movie suffers from Cameron power,
Yeah.
and he just needs to be reined in a little bit.
One early kudos that I gave the film was for having a great example of how to do the like audience hears English but they're talking a different language
Yeah.
thing, which was that like Jake is describing, it's like, oh, it took me a while to get around the language or whatever, but like now when I hear it, it might as well be English, and then it switches from them speaking the language to speaking English, and I was like, oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I love that.
I actually I didn't get that. So you're saying that the movie did that so that they can just be in English the rest of the movie. And it was like very deliberate and as a
Yeah.
signal to the audience.
Yes.
Yeah, so like,
okay. I
so
missed
we
that.
can hear them speaking English, but we know that they're speaking
Okay.
their language.
I actually agree. I thought that was a really good one.
I missed that, but I was actually kind of pissed. I was like, why would these water people be speaking English? That doesn't make any sense. So
yeah.
that's good that that's in there.
But then
Although
they still, in English, they still speak with like English, when they speak Navi using English, they're still using like really annoying English phrases.
Like
the
bro?
two most, but the two most egregious ones for me were like when Zoe Saldana's character is getting upset and Jake's like, I apologize for my partner. She's flown a long way. And it was like just such a like English speaking
Yeah.
thing to say.
but honestly,
But Jake Sully
Or
is
like-
human though, so
yeah,
like,
but
that
it's
makes
like,
sense.
but that's the thing that I think wasn't well thought out. Is he's been part of this culture for 15 years. He would have absorbed more of Navi culture than they would have taken from him. I think.
Yeah.
and I think that that's a mistake the movie made, is have them maintain their human way of speaking when he has given up his humanity to be Navi.
there are some weird disconnects there where you have to kind of like, well, you don't have to, but there's a second where you remember that what we're hearing is an English idiom or style of speaking or whatever, and then we have to like believe that they're saying something that has an equivalent sort of vibe.
Yeah, but
or
that
meaning.
pulls you out. You can't have like Natiri be like, that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, or I think the one that made me
That
the
looked
most
great.
mad is when
She didn't say that,
Loak is being bullied by the kids, and the one guy's like, "What are you, some kind of freak?" And the guy repeats like, "Yeah, you some kind of freak." It's like, what?
Well, that doesn't seem like particularly English to me. But
I don't know. It just feels very 1980s teen, high school bully
Yeah,
movie.
I specifically had the thought like, I don't care about any of this.
Yeah, and I think that I wish he had put the time to invest into how their culture would work and like the way they would speak, and like
Right.
it just felt
The-
like, yeah.
The example for me was like, because shortly after he does that whole like, I might as well be hearing English thing, he's talking to his kids and he's like, Jesus, guys, like, what do you blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what is he saying when he says Jesus? Like they
True
probably-
life.
Ewa.
Ewa, guys, come on.
I think that keeping the name Sully was annoying. When they're like, Sully stick together. You're like, shut up.
Yeah.
I don't know. I found that really annoying.
Yeah, I don't know.
Honestly,
It's such
I'll
an
take
English-
it because all of the Navi names are just like I immediately I'm like, I'm not learning that.
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
like the whole podcast, I just have to be like, yeah, the older boy, the younger boy,
Yeah.
the daughter. Well, Kiri, that was
didn't-
easy.
I
Were they
didn't
calling
know.
her Kitty for
It
half?
sounds like kitty, but it's because they're saying like the R with
They're
like the
saying
roll.
it with
like,
an accent.
Okay.
So kitty,
Yeah, kitty.
kitty.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but like Took, I thought her name was Duke the whole movie.
Yeah,
I had no
You
idea. I had no idea what the boys' names were. I knew
Loak
Spider.
and the older,
The older one, yeah, it doesn't matter.
But
He's dead.
that's an annoying character.
He's
where you're
gone,
like,
man.
he only exists to die.
You set up people's arcs. That's all you do.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like and the
And
children.
also, they looked the same and sounded the same. So I'm so glad that one of them died because I can't handle that for another three
okay,
movies.
jeez Louise. Yeah, and the children of the Reef People chief as well, like Sireya, Aonung, and Rotxo. Wow, Rotxo. Rotxo. I don't know how to say that.
Doesn't matter.
But anyways, no idea. But like, they were pretty central characters.
Yeah,
no idea what
it's
their
just
names
annoying. It's like at the expense of world building. They're trying to Lord of the Rings it.
I do like the world building of the water people, that they have the two kinds of mounts. Like there's kind of like the beginner mount that's like still really cool and you have to learn, you see that. But then they have the battle mounts that are like the big gators that can hydroplane and shit.
Right,
that was
right.
They're so silly looking though.
I don't know. I like it.
What? Really? I thought they looked cool.
it.
Like what? They look kind of dumb to me.
I don't know. I think as soon as when they're flying and they dive underwater, it's like a cool like, oh, they're coming out. They're coming out.
No, I thought they were.
liked it.
I thought they were cool.
Yeah, and
and
they're
I think
huge.
they in the first Avatar, there's like the beginner, there's like the regular pterodactyl things,
Well,
and then there's like the giant
that
one.
dragon one.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, it's like just the leader though, right? Is the
Yeah, like only 5 Navi in history have like bonded with one.
Oh,
and
that's
then
true.
Jake does it, and that gives him credibility.
Right, right.
Let's talk about that.
It gives the white guy
savior complex.
chief,
of this movie.
chief status. Yeah.
I forgot that he was the chief of the Navi. And I think that's a bad
He takes it
choice.
reluctantly, but yeah.
Like I feel like I just want to clarify that like I'm not so offended by the idea of like white savior narratives, but I think they're just kind of played out at this point. I feel like you need to do something more interesting than like white guy comes in and is the leader of the indigenous people. It's just like there's been so many examples of that. And I feel like this movie kind of takes it even further. Instead of kind of like going with a different route where like, okay, we're going to focus more on a non-recombinant avatar. Like we're going to focus more on an unaltered person. They double down on it with Kiri, who is like
The most
the
human.
chosen one, the miraculous virgin birth out of the lifeless avatar, and it's not revealed how she was conceived or anything, and that she has powers, and it's like, okay, so now this like more white blood is like saving the day.
Maybe they can bring it home later on by being like, these people were like less tied to tradition and more tied to like open spirituality. Like maybe there's a way they can bring home why these people are more connected. But as it is now, it just feels like really lazy and kind of problematic.
I mean, like
The first movie was like overwhelmingly white. If you look at the
Right.
scenes just with army people, it's crazy. It's almost like this would be illegal today. There's so many.
Oh, there aren't even like dark-skinned people in the humans?
It's all like
all just
like
white
in the
people?
helicopter and shit. It's like all white people.
Well, except
and even
for,
in this movie, it's
What's her name? Michelle Rodriguez is Hispanic.
yeah, true. That's true.
So
but she's
box
so
checked.
annoying though. She's so bad too. Just another
yeah.
like oh god, yeah, so glad. But she died. So
Hey,
and then
great.
in this movie, it was I thought it was like again like just not as diverse as you see in other movies. They did have one Asian chick, but she got blown up. She was evil.
Interestingly, the three Took looks like Pacific Islander, and
Yeah,
so
but these
do,
are voices.
so do the three. No, they're mocapped, aren't they? Yeah, they
Well,
all,
yeah,
they did mocap,
sure,
and so are the
yeah.
three children
But
of
they're
the
blue people.
of the Water People tribe.
They're
The Water
blue-
People tribe, I think, are like their analogs for like Maori people. Like
Yeah,
Pacific
well, they have like
Islanders.
Pacific Islander tattoos, which is actually kind of a nitpick for me. It's like it's a whole different planet, but they develop the same art style.
And that's kind of I think my bigger problem with it is that like James Cameron didn't like create a fantasy of people. He kind of just like, built his world, and he was like, water people, okay, yeah, this, and then he kind of just co-opted a bunch of iconography from them, like didn't develop it into his own thing. And I feel that a lot with the water people.
Yeah,
Although I do like the trampoline walkways. I think that's fun.
Those
And
are
it's cool that they can dive in the water from them.
But
I
like
do
as soon as
that.
they started doing like, okay, so they have the Maori like tattoos, and they started doing the tongue thing like that. Yeah, I was like, this is just
Maori.
copy pasted,
Yeah.
dude. Like, come up with something else.
Yeah, and I felt conflicted because I'm like, I like the representation.
I guess it's representation, but at the same
also
time,
just
it's like
feels like it's not. You didn't develop anything. You just
Yeah.
kind of like read a Wikipedia entry and we're like, oh, that's pretty
exactly. It's just like so much more interesting when you see something that you have not seen before. But like they have some other thing that they do instead of the tongue out thing.
yeah, like a dog with 6 legs. That was the first one. It was groundbreaking.
Yeah, sure. Maybe they put their fingers behind the ears and go whap, 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 like I said, to come up with something different, not that one, obviously. But I don't know.
4 fingers behind. you.
Sorry, it's like representation, but it's also like kind of othering them.
Yeah.
Because you're saying, look at these aliens. They're just like the weird alien people we have here that aren't white. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Anyways. One thing that I thought could have been that I thought kind of like kneecapped the movie a little bit was like revealing that Spider is Quaritch's son so early.
Yeah.
They do that right away.
Yeah, during the opening like exposition dump.
Yeah. I feel like maybe...
No?
No, the first time he's introduced as being like the kid that was too young to go into the pod, they don't say at that time.
No,
that he's
but
Quaritch's son,
then there's like an early scene where they go into like the Avatar lab and like Grace's Avatar is in there, the scientist, and they're talking about at least you know who your father is, and and he's like, oh, trust me, maybe you don't want to know. And I was like, oh, what? Really? That felt like such a weird time to reveal this information. But I guess like we're gonna. No, I feel like it would still be better if like even if Quaritch kidnapped Spider, and then they discover that he's the son.
Yeah, that'd be more
I feel like that would be a bit more cool of a reveal.
Well,
Well, they could do it two ways. You could also have Quaritch know that he's his son without Spider knowing that Quaritch is his dad.
Yeah, and
You
then he's
have
like
that
trying to get
asymmetry.
close to him, but Spider's like, you're still weird. And then like as they spend time together, I don't know. There's just so many like the plot is so like cookie cutter, not cookie cutter, but you know what I mean? It's like there are opportunities to make it more interesting and they just don't take it.
Well, it's weird because the first one is very cookie cutter as well, but I think it's a cleaner version of it. Like this one feels messy. Like who's the protagonist?
Yeah, who's the protagonist?
Who's the fucking
The whole movie, I was
protagonist?
like, who's this about? What is the dramatic question of this movie?
Yeah.
I still don't know. Is it will they survive? Will they stay in one place?
Well, like the most active person is Quaritch, who's like, I'm going to kill Jake Sully. And like he has the clear objective, but it's Loak that has the arc, but Jake Sully that has the most runtime, I guess.
He has a bit of an arc too, because his whole thing in the last movie and this one is, hey, attackers are coming. We need to leave this place because we're going to get wrecked. And so he did that in the first movie, tried to tell them, you need to leave the big tree because they're going to come. And all of the Na'vi were like, screw that, we'll stay here. Yeah. And then in this movie, it's like, oh no, they're coming after us. We need to leave our home and go to the water place. And at the end of this movie, his final monologue before it zooms into his eyes again is he's like, we're going to stay here. Like, this is our home. We're going to stay here and fight. So I think that's his arc, but it really seemed like Loak got way more development and was like way more set up.
I thought Jake's arc was so... I mean, like you can't even call it an arc really, because it was just stupid from the get-go. I don't know. Like, did that not bother you guys when it was like, okay, we're doing the guerrilla campaign, and then we find out that Quaritch is here, and oh no, they're hunting me. They'll never stop. I'll switch chiefs. I'll put someone else as the chief, because then they won't care about oppressing those people.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like he thinks that it's all about, again, white saber thing. He thinks it's all about him.
Well, it is though, that's what's annoying. It's
that's
like
what Quaritch is after. Yeah,
Quaritch is specifically dispatched to take out the terrorist leader, basically.
Quaritch. Not Quaritch.
Quaritch. What did I say? Quaritch?
No, you're right. I think it's Quaritch.
Osama bin Nabi.
Yeah, exactly. So then he flees, but in the grander scale thing, like zoom out a month, like they're gonna kill all of you.
Exactly.
So that's what's annoying about this plot.
Yeah. Exactly. And like, does Jake Sully know nothing about colonization? Like, it's just like they don't just leave you alone if you stop blowing up their trains.
Coexist.
Yeah. And
although that first train jacking sequence was pretty fucking awesome.
It was sick.
I was into it.
It was so cool. I love the action.
Yep.
I love when they're like, la, 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 la.
I didn't have thoughts about that. But the like taking out the helicopters with bows and arrows was cool.
It was pretty cool.
But yeah, I thought it was so stupid because it's like okay now. First of all, we're gonna leave them, so hopefully they'll be fine. Let's fly over to the islands, and because get away, they'll never know that we're here. It's like they're taking over the planet.
Yeah.
You idiot. You're gonna go here, and like you're getting out of the forest because you want to get away from them, so like they can be protected, I guess, because your presence endangers them. Let's move my presence over to here and endanger these people instead.
What I do like about
keep moving at the very least. If you're gonna flee, keep moving.
100%. I think what I do like about making the stakes personal is that it leaves room for them to grow for like franchise long. So in the first movie, it's world-ending stakes, whereas this one, it's like much more personal, like tribe versus like this commando group or whatever, whaling ship.
Right.
And it keeps the stakes fairly contained so that as the series goes on, they can build it out bigger and bigger, and then the stakes can feel bigger. And like by Avatar 33, we can have like this big final battle, and it'll feel huge. And I like that, but it's also just messy and feels like a Call of Duty game.
Yeah, it's just what did I what I wrote down at the very end, like to Jake, I'm like, oh, now you can't run, because the movie ends on this like big high note, and they're like bonding with the spirit tree, and it's like, now I know we can't run anymore. Now I know we have to stand and fight, and blah blah blah. And it's like goes in on his eyes, and he opens his eyes like boom, Avatar. And instead, like I did not feel what the movie wanted me to feel at all. I'm like, oh, now you can't run. Have to make a stand after you ruin everyone's lives, you piece of shit.
I didn't.
It's hard. Maybe you should have thought about that before you continue bringing your 4 kids into war zones, you piece of absolute turd.
He is a human. He's a white human.
That's kind of what his arc really should have been, or I guess partially was like the decision of like, should I create an army and just destroy this colony before I can get established, or should I just be a parent first and take my kids out of here?
Yeah.
But then they have the 1 year later time jump, so I guess he didn't kill the colony when it was just getting established.
No, and well, not that they could, like they had there was a lot of tanks, a lot of mech people or whatever.
The mech people they can kill.
He should be going around and getting all the Na'vi on the planet into like, he should be, uniting the tribes to like have some giant force.
What are they going to build towards for Avatar 6?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the real issue.
I think that's, you can come back and say that like, oh, they didn't do that in this movie because there's 3 more movies and they need to have room for that. But I feel like I've said this many times, when you are doing something like that and the audience picks up on the fact that that's what you're doing it wrong.
100%.
We need to be distracted from the fact that that's what you're doing by making this movie more engaging and more interesting in and of itself.
James Cameron's movies are just contrivances that allow him to go diving. That's what he actually wants.
Yeah,
he has said
100%.
the reason he made Titanic was so that he could go and dive the wreck.
Yeah.
He could go and see the actual wreck of the Titanic in a submarine.
Yep.
So this movie, it's like big surprise that it ends up being in the water, and he gets to film for a whole year.
For sure.
All these underwater scenes and develop new underwater technology, because what he really loves is diving.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it doesn't really inform how good the film is if you're just really into diving. For someone who's really into diving, this guy does not know how drowning works.
And how about the bends?
Because you can't choke someone out with a sleeper hold underwater.
Yeah, you can. Why not?
No.
Let's
I'm
try
saying
it.
you can't do that and then have them float around for 5 minutes
And then
just
be saved.
and just be fine after.
no.
They're dead.
Well,
They're dead, dude.
100%.
They're Na'vi. So we don't know exactly how the respiratory system works.
That's right.
It seems like it works pretty similar to
Because I mean, like
ours.
the Na'vi can like breathe for like 20 minutes and like
They can hold their breath for so
Yeah.
long. They can breathe the other
And
atmosphere.
they have the
There are
adaptations for the bends. And I think like
Wait.
I bet if you asked James Cameron why they don't have the bends, he wouldn't be like, oh, I didn't think about that. He'd be like, there's valves and
He
like,
knows
release.
about the bends.
Wait. There are humans who can hold their breath for like 20 minutes from tribes, from like isolated tribes
Okay.
who like
Kate Winslet's
who grew
one
up
of them.
I'm not gonna say 20 minutes. I don't know if it's 20 minutes,
David
but
Blaine,
it's a long
bro.
freaking time.
3 days.
There are like tribes on Earth who can do that. So it's like it's basically the same.
Okay.
And Quaritch should be dead.
But yeah, well, here's the thing. What happened? Like, he gets choked out, but it's not a choke. Like we say choke, but it's a strangulation, right? So he gets put in a rear naked choke. So blood's not going to his brain, so he passes out. At that moment, when the choke is released,
Everything relaxes.
so he is now his body. He's passed out. He's going to be breathing underwater, right?
Yes.
His body's not going to be holding his breath. He would be going.
His
and,
lungs
like,
are full of water at this point, and he is dead.
and he's down there for 10 plus
Yeah.
minutes, just full of water.
He is dead. I was a life. Sorry, maybe that bothered me like particularly because I used to be a lifeguard, and like that if water gets in your lungs, it's basically over.
I totally understand.
If you're down there for any, like maybe you get some water in your lungs and like you catch them like literally right away.
Yeah.
But if you are, it's like they call it the final breath because when you
Release.
breathe in that water, it destroys your lungs.
Destroys him.
Yeah. They're
Yeah.
like capillaries are so sensitive. And if you let like water in, especially at like higher pressures, you're dead.
I 100% understand why that affected you or like it made you so angry. But I think like to me that's an easy hand wave. It's just they're Na'vi. They have different systems.
Okay.
Like,
I mean, they could have taken him out a different way. Although I do love some jujitsu kills.
I was gonna say, I'm like, oh wow, the old sleeper hold saves the day again. The old
It's a high
standard.
percentage move.
I was just like, this is a whole fight, and how are we ending it with a sleeper hold? I just feel like there's so many. It's so anticlimactic when fights end that way.
it's just the most like up close personal, and you can have 2 close ups. It's like a 2-shot close up because
Yeah.
they're right
Yeah.
there. So
And
that's
you
why
get to
they
do the
it.
struggle of like,
Yeah.
it's similar to bringing a knife towards somebody's eye. It's like the struggle.
Honestly, I would have I would have accepted it way more if he like got like a gut stab or something, and you like, oh shit, is it? Because that's an indeterminate wound. It could totally kill you. You could be fine. Yeah. So then they're underwater, and he's like trying to hold his breath, and he's like, it seems like he's gonna die.
And then he just like fades
Spider
out.
comes and
falls
grabs
down.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Fair.
Yeah. I wouldn't think he was dead though.
I like that whole sequence though, like the underwater.
Well, that's
like
why it was
ship.
stupid. I don't want to think he's dead, and then just kidding, he's not. No. Anyways, go ahead.
I just like that whole sequence when the ship is sinking, like they're trying to get out.
The Titanic part?
The Titanic part's sick. And like I really like the spiritual nature payoff of like sending the light jellyfish, like the phosphorescent jellyfish through, and like the music that plays. I don't know, it affected me in the way the movie I think wanted to, and it felt magical in a way that I kind of believed. And I didn't hate the angel wings as much as you did. I thought it was kind of like cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of was like, that's kind of silly, but it's cool, I guess. She's got little wings. Although I do not understand how the oxygen thing works.
Yeah,
I guess like
aliens.
It can send oxygen through the brain cord thing.
Yeah.
I just thought when they were wearing those, I was like, all the anime people in this audience have such hard dicks right now.
Oh yeah, the new cosplay, you'll get like LED lit wings, buddy. It's just gonna be tight.
There's these like younger people behind us who were really like, they were like me when I was 20 or younger, to be like, cheering and stuff when someone gets a good kill. They're just like, oh my god, guys, this is so fucking cool. To be young again. And I knew that they just had boners during that part.
They're like, yeah. Did you guys watch it in the high refresh rate?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
I meant to bring that up. Yeah.
Okay.
I saw it normal.
You saw it in 24 then.
Yeah.
I saw it in 48.
Non-3D.
48 3D.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is the movie. Okay, so let's talk about the experience of what you saw. So you saw a normal movie. We saw something new to me, like because I hadn't seen The Hobbit and I hadn't seen Gemini Man. Is Gemini Man 120?
I don't know.
Okay, so I was talking to my friend after he'd seen this, and it seemed like this frame rate wasn't consistent. It was like sometimes it looked fast forwardy, sometimes it looked like choppy slow mo-y.
In this movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, what's the deal with that? And then there's the whole other aspect of it, like just looking weird when they're like just talking to each other and stuff, like the whole soap opera effect thing.
Well, yeah, you can kind of tell that some of the elements were shot in 24, and then most of the full CG is 48. And I think when it's full CG, my brain was willing to be just like, it's a video game. And it doesn't like it as much as 24 CG, where it's like,
your brain?
It's a movie. It's just like processes it like a video game. It's too
Exactly.
smooth.
I hate it actually. Like a lot of the action set pieces, like the train blowing up and falling, I'm like, I feel like I'm watching a cutscene in a video game.
Yeah.
It looks lame.
I know.
And then it just made me want 24 FPS cutscenes in video games.
Well, that's 100% how I feel. I think 30 FPS video games have a place in the world. We won't get into it. But I think the big problem with this movie, because my brain actually was okay with like accepting the video game frame rate, is the jumps. It's really distracting. There's elements that are 24, elements that are 48, and then shots that are mostly CG will be presented full smoothness, but then the live action stuff must have been shot 24, because when they superimpose it, it'll sometimes be one juddery element over smooth video.
This is this is a problem with how we watched it though. This is what I think is going on is I have heard that this movie actually, in some theaters, they have 120 FPS projectors. This movie is actually variable refresh rate.
Oh.
They shot different sequences at different refresh rates, and some projectors can support that. So you're sitting in a theater where it's actually changing, and some scenes are 120, some scenes are 60, some are 24.
Yeah.
But we're sitting in a theater where it's all 48, and when there's different frame rates, we have to choose a base frame rate, and for us the base frame rate was 48. So when there's scenes that are slower or faster than that, you either get duplicate frames or you get missing frames.
I see.
So that's when there's missing frames, it's choppy, and when there's duplicate frames, it looks all soap opera effecty.
Oh, interesting.
So if we had watched this in with the correct technology, like in a theater that was variable frame rate, then we wouldn't have seen the fast forward nature of it.
Is there a way to find out what the theaters have beforehand? Because like I was considering watching this movie a second time, because I know once it's on Blu-ray, I'll have zero interest in ever watching it again. But I think like it'd be nice to see maybe it again in theater. Is there a way to like look up?
I don't know. I know when I bought my tickets, it just like there's a little symbol for 3D or AVX or IMAX. There was
They tell you
high
when you buy the
refresh rate.
tickets. Yeah.
But I would guess that in Canada, like we basically have like a couple big franchise movie theaters and a few independents, and the independents are usually garbage tier.
Yeah.
And so I would guess that in Canada we just do not have the ability.
Yeah, because I went to the
ability to what?
To see, I don't think
proper-
there's any theaters that have the 120 variable for refresh rate.
Audiences, if you
projector.
know if there's like a variable for refresh rate, let me know, because I am curious about that. I was disappointed the theater I saw it in wasn't even Atmos. It was 7.2. And I was like, what the fuck?
What theater?
The Langley Coliseum, Colossus, yeah.
Oh,
and I
really?
went to AVX Theater number 1, and I was like expecting the all around you to be Atmos, and it said 7.2, and I was like,
interesting.
Weak.
Yeah, I saw it in 24 FPS because I had seen The Hobbit in 48, and
You knew it sucked.
like that. Honestly, it's the same criticism that like CG scenes feel like video games, and
In the
there's-
worst way.
Yeah, there's just something about the motion blur from 24 FPS that like makes it seem more realistic.
And more epic.
Even though in real life, you know, we don't see it 24 FPS.
No.
We see it like if you could really do
There's no motion
a
blur.
proper, you can't do a proper conversion, but if you could, it would be above 24 FPS.
Yeah, but
And so
we're used to things
25,
looking
26.
like cool and epic, and then so you watch something, it's like maybe that looks more realistic, but realistic sucks.
yeah, but like it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
It's
That
like
train just fell off like a little limp dick. Like,
I feel like a lot of the photorealism of CGI is only there because it's at 24 FPS. Because we are used to seeing live action stuff at 24 FPS in narrative movies. And when it's a higher frame rate, we like our brain, like you say, it substitutes like, oh, this looks like this other thing that I've seen. Instead of looking like this live action movie I've seen, it looks like this other high frame rate thing I've seen, which is video games. And yeah, so like I feel like it brings attention to the fact that maybe like in this movie, there's not a ton of like little details that you can point at and be like, look, there's a flaw in the CG. Like it looks amazing, but when it's at a higher frame rate, you
reveals
notice
the
more of those
flaws.
things. Yeah, and also I wanted to ask you guys about the 3D because I hate 3D. It's darker. I feel like some of the details are blurry, even though they try. It's supposed to blur, like put the two images together. A lot of times,
Yeah,
it
it
doesn't
feels-
the edge
physically.
of the frame is always
So
a
like,
little
It feels
blurry.
lower res.
Did it
for
feel
sure.
clear to you?
This was pretty damn good 3D
Because
to
it's
me.
shot in 3D.
Yeah.
Right.
And it didn't really bother me in the same way. Like I saw Shang-Chi in 3D and I was like, I wish I didn't.
Yeah.
This, I was like, this is pretty cool.
No, I actively avoid 3D.
Did you see a 3D version? You did.
No.
Okay.
was-
I
it was
had a moment
2D.
where I was like, I want to take these glasses off. This is stupid.
Oh, really? Yeah, I always get scared.
Although I will say there was a couple good utilizations of the 3D. There's some arrows coming at you that were very effective and immersive.
I'm a big fan of the subtle moments. Like I think the water is made more powerful by the 3D. Like I think that one shot that's in the trailer with Loak reaching out to touch the whale.
Yeah.
It's like in 3D it just feels so
all around you.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not that you're like noticing it minute by minute. It's just that you're engrossed in the film.
Yeah, it
And that's
feels
what
so-
Avatar did when it first launched.
Yeah.
It was-
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, maybe the water affected. I mean, because I thought the water looked amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe it'd be even better.
I bet it looks really good in non 3D. I just feel like Avatar to me, more than a movie, is a theme park ride. And I think you're like missing an element by not having 3D.
I wanted to see this movie the way that James Cameron wanted me to see this
Yeah.
movie. That's why I got the high refresh rate.
I really wanna
Apparently
see-
I didn't see it.
Yeah, I want to see the variable refresh rate version. I feel like what I told people with the first Avatar is I like the movie fine, but it exists to be seen in theaters, and it's not worth watching outside of theaters. And I feel the same with this. It's,
I
like,
watched the first one at home the other night. It was all right.
it's all right, but I feel like you're not getting the full experience. And I
No,
think,
no way.
Whereas like even like a Marvel movie, another spectacle movie, when you watch it at home, you're getting the experience.
You guys ready for this? Nitpicks.
I mean, I have like some larger nitpicks, I guess, but larger nitpicks. They're over 2 hours in, and there are way too many twists and turns with like kids getting captured and then escaping
Yeah,
and
and
then
then
getting
some getting
captured
captured.
again.
Yeah, Took
Yeah.
literally says
Yeah.
it out loud. I'm tied up again.
I can't believe
Yeah.
I'm tired of again. I was like, yeah, kid, me neither. What the fuck?
Yeah, that was a hedge. That was a screenwriter hedge. It was
Yeah.
funny for a kid to say, but like, yeah, that's a signal. The writers knew that. They're like, oh shit.
It was so ridiculous. And then shortly after that, I was so irritated by the fact that Quaritch is using Kiri as hostage or whatever. And then Spider comes up and he has an opportunity to do something. He's behind, like Quaritch doesn't see him. He has an opportunity to do something. Instead, he runs up and says, "Wait, don't!"
Yeah, he reveals himself.
Yeah, and then that happens, and then Neytiri comes up and has an opportunity to gank Quaritch.
Yeah, should have just.
Yeah, but no,
arrowed.
then she says, "Oh, I'm gonna do it to your kid." It's
Yeah,
like
that was stupid.
Well, even before that, when he's like, "All right, Jake, come in here." There was a moment where I was like, Quaritch would just kill these kids right now.
I know. Well,
Like as soon as, because is that when Jake, he gets him back up, or like Neytiri starts kicking ass or something like that, and he's like looking around. Oh no, now it's a fight. It's like situation's out of my control. He would have just killed those kids.
and I feel like there was, maybe it wasn't in the first movie. Maybe I'm imagining it, but in this one for sure, there's sort of like there's an attempt to paint him as this like hardcore badass who doesn't care about anything, and I will not hesitate to kill your kid. He talks about killing Jake's kids a lot. It happens all the time. I'm just like, it sounds so weird to hear
you and your family.
Yeah, well, that is better. It feels so weird to hear a character say, like, I will not hesitate to kill your kid, protagonist. Like, I don't know, it's just like seems cringe. But anyways, there's an attempt to paint him as the badass who wouldn't care about that. But then he doesn't, and he kind of softens up, and I feel like it really, like, it takes the teeth out of him. Like, I'm not scared of Quaritch, because I'm like, you seem like a Disney villain more so than like the terrifying Terminator, you know?
Yeah, well,
were you scared of him?
Well, he's got that other family on the beach when he's looking for them, and he's like gonna shoot this innocent woman.
Yeah,
but then he just like doesn't.
But then he doesn't. I feel like we need to see Quaritch like fucking just murder
Especially
someone
early on.
Yeah. And
They
then I
should've
would
killed one of the
believe.
kids right
but
away.
then does that make him less redeemable? I don't know.
Maybe.
Whatever.
That might be too far. Nitpick, early on when they're still in the floating rocks, Jake and Neytiri are talking, and he puts his gun down, pointing right at her. And it's like just like the small detail, but I'm like, why does he point it right at her when he puts it down?
I kind of hate whenever he uses a gun.
Yeah.
It's just lame. I don't know. I don't like it.
To stay on the killing a kid thing for my part, this is the main reason why I was so pissed at the end of the movie, was because they talk about killing kids the whole time. I'm going to kill your kid. I'm going to go watch out. I'm going to kill your kid, blah, blah, blah. And then they actually do kill the son. And I was just pissed at that point, because I'm like, and maybe I wouldn't be as pissed if I wasn't a father. We talk about this all the time. I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't affect me. But like, because I have one child, and to have a kid die and then it's just used to like serve Jake and Neytiri's like story. It's like, oh no, you killed my kid. Now I'm angry. It's like they killed your child. Well, it's okay. There's like 5 of them.
Well, that's the thing. Is
What
like,
do you mean? What do you want to see?
I want to see them not kill up one of his children because he's got 4 other ones, so it's okay.
I think we mentioned that, where it's like that character doesn't exist to be a character, exists to be a tool for the storyteller.
Yeah, but I just feel like they the whole time they're like, this family is our fortress. We're going to protect our family. My whole thing is protecting my family. But the things that he does not protect his family. He like, you think you're going to go to the islands and just chill?
Well, he
you
keeps
killed your kid, you piece of shit.
He keeps telling his kids not to go into these, and they keep going, "Well, I'm going to do it anyway."
That's true, but I feel like he is ultimately responsible for keeping them safe, and he does like the opposite thing, which is just to stay in one place and wait for the bad guys to find you. And then at the end of the movie, it's like a slap in the face even more, because they're like, well, this was important for the kid to die because now Jake Sully is going to fight back. And I'm just like, I hate seeing any character, children, women, other types of people, used as instruments to serve someone else's story.
100%.
It's so irritating to me, and especially when it's a kid, where
lazy.
it's like, it's you know, it's like people get mad when you kill animals in movies. Like, there are some people, I know someone who like gets way more pissed off if like a pet dies or an animal dies in a movie than if a kid dies.
Well, and I think,
but for me, it's the opposite. I'm like, you need to have a really, really good reason to kill a child. And in this movie, it just seems flippant. It seems like they don't even
100%.
think about what they're doing.
a big problem is that
doesn't bother me.
they just designed redundancy into the family, and they don't develop that character at all. And so in the next
Exactly,
movie, when
yeah.
he's not there, as an audience, you're not going to feel the absence.
No.
They'll tell you that you should feel an absence, But you're
Exactly.
like, oh yeah, the guy that I saw like 3 times and all he did was, stick to what his dad said and then be like, no, brother, don't do that.
Yeah.
And he's gone. Okay.
You know what?
Yeah,
You knew from scene 1 where he's like, then we had more kids. And there's a whole like litter of them.
And
You're
we
like,
replaced them. It's okay.
Oh my God.
I feel like maybe I'm especially triggered by this because I know a lot of people who have. Well, I come from a family of 4 kids, and
too much.
It was too many.
One of them should've died.
My parents did their best, and I had a really great childhood. I talk about it all the time, but
Almost as just Star Wars.
there's something that's missed. Like when you have a ton of kids, you're not paying attention to each of them, and I feel like
paying attention to Riley.
I'm particularly I'm
You're
number
middle,
2.
right?
I got
No.
I got the attention. The
Number
next
2,
2,
that's poop.
the next 2 were the people who were maybe had a harder
Baby got
time.
lots of attention.
Yeah. What?
Baby gets lots of attention.
No.
What kind of
When
parents are your parents?
Well, there's 4 kids.
It depends on the age
by
spread.
the fourth boy, it's like, well,
It's
the
all
other 3
boys.
turned out all right. He'll be fine.
Because I'm the baby, but it's 3 sisters. I'm the only boy, so I got too much
Yeah.
attention.
I know
Sure.
a family of 4. Their 4th kid is the same age as my daughter. She could like barely walk, and this kid's snowboarding and shit. Like you just get raised by the other kids.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, and there's different developmental stage or whatever. And like if my youngest brother was a girl, 100%, we'd be
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, you're so special.
Yeah.
But so I think I'm particularly triggered by scenarios in which people don't seem to really value children as like discrete human beings with like consciousness and souls of their own and blah blah. Like I feel like
Imagine being like a polygamous dad with like 13 or
exactly
25 kids.
it triggers me. So like to see like a big family like this, and it's like, oh, we're all about protecting the family. Everyone's important and blah blah. Sully stick together. But then one of them dies because the dad is an asshole, and then whatever, it serves the plot, so it's fine. I'm just like, ugh. Sorry. Anyways, let's move on. I think move on.
Shout out to Neytiri's performance of like heartbreak when she's like screaming and crying. I felt that.
Yeah, when the son died, I think the characters behaved appropriately.
Yeah, again, but
you're just mad that the writers did this.
I'm right. Yeah. I'm mad at the writers, and then like because they get so mad, and then they go and like fucking kill everybody.
She goes berserk.
Yeah, I'm just like, okay, so you killed the kids so that we could have a cool action scene, and that seems even more flippant to me.
Sure.
Anyways, but let's move on from that. I don't want to talk about it forever. I'm just
Nitpick. These like breathing fairy fish, they would 100% just be farming them. Like, why even learn to hold your breath?
Exactly.
They would just have you'd have 3 fairy fish with you at all times.
Yeah,
I think you can make the argument that they increase drag in the
Yeah,
water.
it
Maybe
seems
so
like
it's
they slow them down.
You can't go fast with them. Maybe.
yeah.
Get some science and just
Look,
like
James can't-
isolate chop their little wings off and just have the
Now we
center
don't do
pod.
science though. They do
Yeah.
mysticism.
That's true. Because medicine doesn't matter.
And do they
Medicine
farm?
doesn't work. I love when the humans come to like help with Kiri after she has the seizure. I wrote it down. Jake is talking to them and she's like, she said she could like hear Awa's heartbeat or some shit. And the humans are like, oh yeah. That's classic frontal lobe epilepsy. This is a problem that we probably have to fix with pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, that was annoying.
And then the chief comes in and goes like, ah, la, 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 and like pokes her with like thingies, and it's like acupuncture or whatever, and it's like, that worked. Oh wow! I guess medicine and human institutions suck.
The thing that annoyed me about that was the order of it. It was just a film contrivance that the shaman showed up after and pushed the scientists away, whereas like the incident happened in the shaman's village. She would have been there immediately.
Exactly.
And then Norm would have showed up later. So I was
They called them from the forest, and it showed
helicoptered
that it
in.
took them like multiple days to get there.
yeah.
She had a seizure, and she's just chilling. I don't know.
the shaman would have been there immediately.
Stupid.
I got another nitpick. The narration in this movie is just pure narration, whereas in the first movie, it had like a practical. It was part of the video logging they were doing throughout the movie, so it was like the narration you heard throughout the movie ended up being his last video log that he submitted. Whereas in this, they just kept the narration going, and now it's just full on narration,
Yeah.
which is fine, I guess.
No, it's lazy, and they don't do anything interesting with it.
You can't have
and
a
they should-
journal.
Yeah, and like James Cameron should be punished.
Yeah, I hate when it's just like, who are you talking to?
Yeah.
There needs to be a meta narrative.
And if you're gonna do a narrative, at least like make a thematic point or like a counterpoint to the visuals. It's just like he just fucking describes shit, and that's so
Yeah.
fucking lazy.
Yeah. It's like we might as well just like
agree
have a
with you.
scene where characters are talking and then Jake's voice pops in and is like, Loak didn't like that.
So here's what I was thinking.
So Loak decided to go over here and meet the whale and be friends.
I could dodge or get hit in the face by his big iron claw. Everything goes back to Kung Pao. Everything.
It's your Star Wars.
Okay, I want to talk about Spider a bit more because he triggered me a little bit. Not triggered.
You don't like blondes.
I didn't like.
You don't
how,
like white people dreads.
I was
They're
bothered.
ugly.
I was
Really?
bothered by that.
They're
That
ugly.
didn't bother me because he's
Sorry,
like, he's
not
like
him.
a feral child.
No, sorry, not him. I was bothered by Jake with the dreads early on because it was like the movie. We were just coming into the movie again, and it was just like reminding you that like here's the white guy who's now a chief of the aliens because he's so great, and also he's got dreads. I don't know. It was just like one step too far for quote unquote appropriation. It doesn't
so
bother
woke,
me.
man.
It doesn't bother me normally. I don't know. It's just like this movie. It's just like so many things. But Spider, when they're like torturing him and trying to get the information out, and then Quaritch comes up and he's like, General, let me try the personal angle. And she's like, he's not your son. And I was like, yeah, he is, basically. Idiot, shut up. Like, yeah, what are you talking about? He is.
But he's not. You're
He's
a
not-
clone.
he didn't
You
come-
never had sex with anybody. You're a fucking clone.
He's got all the mind and memories of the other guy, and the guy's dead. So he
See,
might as well be your son.
I think
Yeah.
that to me is when the movie touches something that's really interesting. When he's like, I'm not him. I'm like, yeah, I have his memories, but I'm a different being. And they touch it, but then they don't dive into this sense
Yeah.
of identity because like there's a really interesting thematic exploration to be had.
That'll be next movie. I
Yeah.
hope.
To me, it's like, okay, I'm gonna make a reference to Star Wars only because I don't know of another franchise in which this thing happened. In the comics, in the expanded universe, Emperor Palpatine has clones. I mean, I guess that's maybe what happened in Rise of Skywalker. But
Lord of the Rings,
he
Aragorn
has
has
clones,
clones too.
and that's how he comes back. And then when they defeat one of the clones, his like essence transfers into the next clone, and it's like, okay, are all these clones different people? No, you treat them all as the same person, especially when the first one is dead.
Altered Carbon. You could have referenced Altered Carbon.
But I think though, yes.
Altered Carbon is a bit different because it's literally like there's no break in consciousness. It's like the same consciousness gets inserted into another shell. But in this one, it's like the guy dies and then his mind and memories are implanted into another thing. So there's a break.
But I think like
Okay.
you would agree that like your being isn't just your brain. It's like all of you, and like everything that happens in your body affects the way you are.
That's an argument you can
100%.
make.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I just mean that like functionally, he's your
Sure.
son. And that's why we have the storyline where he's like, no, don't kill my son. And we don't, it doesn't bother us because we're like, yeah, he's basically your son.
I agree. I think the general's line is just the tacky writers being like, well, maybe the audience forgot that it's his son. So
It's
like, let's just
that,
remind
or
him.
it's like she's just trying to nudge him that other way, right? Like, don't get sympathetic here.
I will say I liked that torture scene. I don't know. It's like, it's a good, like, non-violent way to
Torture a child.
and I don't know. I found it like it worked for me.
And it was one of those big world little window things where like, whoa, they have this kind of crazy torture device that can like read your mind. That's
Yeah.
cool, but they don't have to explain it or anything.
Spider's hissing. How did you feel about his hissing?
When he goes Navi, he's like,
Yeah, it didn't bother me when the Na'vi do it, but when he did the hissing, and then he kept doing it a number of times after that.
It's cringe.
I'm like, okay, it was kind of fun in the beginning because it's like, oh, you got raised with the Na'vi, but now I'm like, okay, but stop.
Yeah, you're
it.
not scaring anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he's like, you call that speaking the language? You sound like a 3-year-old. And then he's like, and he speaks the language. It's like, no, you sound just as much like a white American, you idiot.
No,
No,
he sounds
no,
a little
not
bit
to me.
better.
Not
I
to
think
me.
he sounded a little bit better.
Okay, I don't. I heard it.
We'll say a peak Spider moment of the entire movie is when they're on the ship and the whale starts attacking, and then he sees his opportunity to finally throw a wrench in their plans and just like pulls on the thing forward and starts smashing. And I was like, nice. Spider
Yeah.
like has been biding his time, waiting for the perfect moment to strike,
Right.
and he does. And I was very grateful for that character moment. I was like, nice. I don't
Yeah.
have to hate him.
I thought it was bizarre how he was just like among them, and
Helping.
people were just like letting him be there and stuff.
Yeah.
Actually, here's another nitpick I forgot. What the hell? Okay, so there's this whaling vessel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, hey, we're gonna come. You're gonna help us. You're gonna transport us over there. And then they end up just becoming soldiers. Everyone who works on that boat,
Yeah.
who's just a fisherman, ends up just like being on a jet ski with a gun. Like they're all just fighting for them. I'm like, are they military fishermen? Like what's the deal here? This guy's a whaler, but also they're a militia at the same time.
I guess like they always had to be armed because, you know, if they fight, if they're whaling, the Na'vi they're always in danger of the Na'vi striking back, I guess. But they don't explain it right.
Well, also it's just
think
like stake do they have in that fight? Like, as soon as there was like a war or something, I'd be like, okay, stop in the boat. Yeah, you guys need to like go over there. I'm not dying for this. Like, why are they so like zealous?
Yeah, I think that the movie could have easily explained that away and been like, you see a reinforcement of Earth Defense Force people and like, yeah, I agree that it's dumb.
I just thought that was just bizarre.
Agreed.
We're just taking it for granted.
Yeah, if I was like a mercenary, not even a mercenary, if I was just like a commercial whaler, you can bet your ass I'm not dying for some weird blue human dude.
Yeah, and you know, that goes into like the humans just being like one-dimensional. Like, they're 100%. Just evil and they're bad. So like, again, and they're just missing elements of a human character that would make it feel more realistic, and one of those things is just like a sense of self-preservation when you are clearly about to die.
I think it's because Cameron wants to just have the movie be so black and white. He just wants to be like, colonialism, bad; destruction of the planet, bad; capitalism, bad. He doesn't want there to be any nuance. So
that's fair.
When in the next movie, which I assume is going to be about a different element of conservation, my guess would be it'll be about climate change in the atmosphere. Because my guess is that they're going to start like nuking stuff to terraform so they can breathe. They want to breathe there.
Yeah.
If they're going to colonize it, that's what I think will happen. And so there probably won't be, even though there could be, an interesting discussion about like, okay, well, the reason the humans are here doing this is because, you know, they think humanity is worth saving and they want to not die. So maybe they could work together and live with the Na'vi, and the Na'vi could share their planet with them. But instead, it's just going to be humans are bad and entitled and are taking over this planet and killing the indigenous population.
Yeah.
So there's what I'm saying overall is like there's no sympathy for the villain in this movie. It's not like Thanos where you're like, I kind of get what he's doing, and in some ways he's right. There's none of that in this franchise.
No.
This is kind of a broader point, and maybe we shouldn't get into it. You guys just shut it down if you're like, let's not get into that. But I always am sort of annoyed by sci-fi movies set a couple, like 100 years. I don't even know when this is set. You know, in the next like 100 or 200 years, where we've just gone back to thinking colonization is okay in its worst form.
Yeah, that's what.
Instead of like humanity having kind of like progressed to a point where we're like, wait. We know that, you know, invading countries, subjecting peoples to horrible, horrible things, blah, blah, blah. That was like the norm back then. Like,
honestly,
I hate when people look back at colonization and are like, oh, they were Nazis. They were so bad. They were horrible. We need to judge them, because that's just what you did. Like, all countries invaded one another. They formed empires. They subjugated peoples, blah, blah, blah. That's just what you did.
I don't really want to talk about this for half an hour, but I think that your thinking is flawed. You're making the assumption that like as technology progresses, also so does progressivism and our
that's
thoughts.
not what I'm saying.
But there could totally be a future. Like, look at Handmaid's Tale. That's the future, but suddenly everyone's like a religious zealot.
Yeah.
Or like our Raised by Wolves, where it's like it's the future, but the whole planet is just like this one religion. And it's like, but in our world, religion's like shrinking. But
Raised by Wolves and seems incredibly unrealistic to me. Handmaid's Tale, there's one country that has done that, and the rest of the world is like, you're bad.
All I'm saying,
this is like a humanity unites, and then they go out and colonize stars. And I feel like
we don't know that
with what?
Yeah, who's building spaceships right now?
First of all, like, it's honestly, this could literally just be SpaceX. Like,
maybe
it could just be Elon Musk.
Isn't that in the last movie? Is that it's like a joint venture, military and corporate America? Like, I thought that was kind of the point, is that it's corporations that are
all right.
doing
Maybe I
this
missed that. I thought it was like this is the humanity forces, you know. So. But if it is like America or like a private corporation or something, then fair enough.
It's private, so like they could do anything.
Yeah. Okay.
Weird that they switched from the unobtainium angle to the Amarello angle.
Amrita.
I'm okay with not ever mentioning the word unobtainium again. I think that's
such a bad word.
Apparently, unobtainium is real. It's a real thing.
Well, I think.
What does that mean?
It's a
thing you can't get.
Unobtainium is a term used in fiction, engineering, and common situation for a material ideal for a particular application, but impractically hard to get. Okay.
So they're basically like, we're here for MacGuffin.
Yeah.
They just like said the word.
Okay, never mind. Sorry, I heard somebody saying that it's like real, but I guess it's a real term we use for
someone
MacGuffin.
said it and he was like, it's real. He believed it. Someone said it and you believed it.
Yeah.
I think all in all, the feeling is.
Well, I googled it.
Okay.
I wasn't confident. Go ahead.
It's just that the writing is very much set in an era where movies could be black and white, and I think we live in an era where we have more movies have to have more gray. In
Like, how about that general offering the Navi reparations? Something more interesting,
Something.
you know?
Well, and I think, like when they say what the
Yeah,
intentions
try
of
to
the
make them a
humans
deal.
are, I think when they say that the humans are here not to like just mine, they're here to survive. Like humanity's not going to survive unless they get a new home.
Right.
That's an interesting angle, but because it has to be black and white, and that's just kind of how James Cameron writes.
That's
Well, in the
100%.
first movie, they kind of established, like, we've tried, like, they tried to teach them English. They had schools. They had all this outreach. It failed. So now let's just wipe them out. So that kind of was established, and they carried it to this movie too, where they're like, yeah, we know how it goes trying to coexist with you. So we're just going to wipe you out.
Okay.
They're not trying to be
Which is
smarter
funny,
about it.
Which is, I guess, what happened in real life. They tried to assimilate, like
They assimilate to force them into
in North America
human culture.
Yeah, they tried to like cut the children off from their cultures and like teach them English and raise them and whatever, and it wasn't really going super well. So then they were just like, all right, well, I guess we'll kill a lot of you.
Well, that depends on the
Not on
country.
purpose.
They
I'm not
America
saying-
did it differently than Canada.
Yeah, I'm not saying that it was all intentional or whatever, but like there was neglect and blah blah blah. Anyways,
Show me this systemic genocide, James Cameron.
The end point of this narrative, 100%, is just gonna be humans and Navi living together peacefully.
It's Navy.
Join the Navy.
No.
Navi. Nitpick for me that turned into a hit pick. The mechs, the punchy crab mechs.
Oh, the crabs.
Yeah, it was
the
interesting.
Their
underwater-
only job was to climb on top of the whale once it's dead and put an anchor point. So I was like, that is not worth $1 billion robot.
Yeah, but then
I think it's cool when when you see them swimming and you're
Yes.
like, oh, you can see the modularity of them. It was kind of cool.
I thought
James
that was,
Cameron's like, I've always wanted a
I
submarine
thought they
like
looked.
this.
I thought they looked so dumb at first. I'm like, why would you make a mech shaped like a crab of all things? Like, there's a reason why submarines are like elongated. Like, crabs don't swim through the water super well. Anyways, and then but we had that cool shot where like they like punches his fist and like he grabs his fist like that. But then later they're trying to like grab the kids and stuff.
That's
I'm
pretty
like,
cool.
okay, this actually seems pretty practical because they can fold their legs up and stuff. Yeah. Okay.
Love crabs.
I was okay with that. Nitpick, Kiri meeting her mom, meeting Sigourney Weaver
In the spirit
In
tree?
the spirit tree. And it was just cringe. Yeah. She was just like, oh, my sweet girl, what's the matter? It's like, is this the first time they met or not? It seemed like they had met before, but it was also like the first time.
Well, I don't think she was dead before Kitty was born, wasn't it?
She was absorbed into the spirit tree.
I don't remember.
So
this.
like, okay.
Yeah, so what happened was she got fatally wounded, and then they were like, let's transfer her consciousness into her avatar.
And
so they laid both their bodies at the feet of the spirit tree, but it didn't work.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was
She died anyway.
She died before the transfer was complete. But now she's like in the spirit tree.
Okay.
Which is basically the Wayback Machine.
Sure.
It's their internet.
The Wayback Machine. No, it's like that's like a connection to Awa, which is why I guess this is the theory why Kira has the powers is because Sigourney Weaver's spirit, quote unquote, went into the spirit tree, and I guess through the Awa force, that's how the Avatar was impregnated, and then Kiri is sort of like a reincarnation of, well, not reincarnation even. It's just like she's a daughter,
kind of.
But she has the like special magic powers because she was conceived by the force.
I guess
It's Immaculate Conception. It's another savior complex, except it's not a white guy.
Exactly. That's what I said.
I thought in the last one they burnt down the big tree.
They do, but that's not the spirit tree.
That's not the spirit tree.
Every tribe has their
okay.
own spirit tree.
Oh, I see.
But they weren't even that tribe. It wasn't their spirit tree. They had their big, like, giant tree they lived in. That was like their city.
Yeah.
But then the spirit tree was a separate location.
Yes.
Right. Oh, and sorry, that was what was cringe about it, was Sigourney Weaver saying, my sweet girl, what is the matter? And she's like, why am I different? I just felt like, I was just like, this is so...
Because
so,
Norm
like,
beat off in the
cliche.
shower and your mom took a bath and now
my
I'm
God.
pregnant.
Why does everyone think I'm different from them? I don't know.
What was the deal with the fingers? I don't remember that being established in the first one.
I remember that being established.
I
It's
remember.
Like the avatars have human fingers because it's easier for the humans to control the same amount of fingers.
Well, I
whereas
just
the
thought it
Navis
was
are
like
born
a-
with 3
I
fingers.
totally missed that.
I thought it was just like a side effect, like it's an imperfect...
maybe it's that
they're
movie.
imperfectly breeding them, so there's some... It's like an artifact
like,
of
what
like...
scene in the movie?
Because they combine... They're not full Navi, they're part Navi and part human. So then they have 4
Why do you
fingers
say
instead
it's
of 3.
so fucking weird?
No one has said it like that. You never read it anywhere.
Navi.
Yeah, Navi.
Navi.
Yeah.
Wait, you're saying Navi.
Well,
I think it's Navi.
It's Navi. You're right.
And I want to say
Navi.
Navi.
I want to keep on moving.
Okay, last nitpick. The Loak. I just called him the brash brother.
The young one.
When I was watching it, because I was like, we have way too many examples of him like being stupid before he learns some kind of lesson. He's just like, I'm gonna put us in danger. Like, no, stop. Oh, I'm gonna put us in danger again. No, stop. And then he like does it again, and then he gets to become bros with a whale, and.
That's what. It's just too long, but also realistic. Wait till you have a teenager that just they're dumb for so long.
For sure. But like, this isn't real life; it's a movie. So like, we like cut it down a little bit. And then I was so confused because I'm like, he's talking to the whale as if it can understand him.
That was a nitpick for me until they hand waved it away, just saying that the whales are so like such geniuses later. But I was like, with every other animal, you do the ponytail bonding thing to communicate. With this animal, apparently you can just like talk to it and do sign language, and it just looks at you and like gets it and goes wee back to you, and then you're like, and you speak whale back, like
I guess, yeah, and I guess earlier they did show the sign language, I guess, so that's he starts talking to it. Well, at first he's not using the sign language; he's just talking to it, and
but it
then
doesn't understand perfectly,
and it's not clear that whether it understands or not. But then it goes, and there's subtitles. I'm like, what?
That's later. That's once he's starting to use a sign language and he's learned to communicate.
Yeah, but how does he understand the whale language so quickly?
That doesn't make sense because this character is new to the area. Yeah. But as far as the whales talking to the Na'vi, that makes sense. They've been together for decades, and
the whales understand the sign language and they understand the. So I guess so.
What did you guys think of the fact that like the whales are like aggressively pacifist, and that they exile this whale because he dared to fight back
against people who were killing them?
Yeah, I thought
it's the same as that Star Trek Next Generation episode where they go to that Utopia planet, and then Wesley like steps on a plant and they have to execute him because the rules are so harsh. It's just like that.
Okay, wait. Did understand. It made sense later, but that was so confusing. Why he was an outcast, because we don't learn the real reason why he was an outcast until like. It's technically already been explained. Like it's quote unquote explained by him going inside the mouth and connecting.
Oh, that's what I missed.
With his like tongue or something.
That's how they connected?
Yeah, his brainstem comes out or whatever.
Yeah, so he's
the same place where they like drilled.
It's a little deeper. It's like at the back of the throat.
So he went in his mouth.
Yeah, so he opens up and then he goes in. And
he's like, don't what happened to you? Why are you an outcast or whatever? And then the whale just opens his mouth and like swallows him, and for a second you're like, what the fuck?
Because I eat people.
Yeah. And so then he swims to the back of his throat, and there's this like little
donkey dick,
little kelp looking thing that unfolds, and then he connects his thing to it, and then he gets a flashback, and he sees the like memory
ship.
from the whale's perspective of like all these whales are dying around him, and I guess he fights back. But like at that point I'm just like, wait, so you're an outcast because you were there when a bunch of people died? Like what?
No, I think so.
But then they explain it.
Yeah, he organized the rebellion or whatever. The fight.
Well, not even. Oh yeah, I guess he does. But then he comes back, and okay, that makes more sense. I thought that like he came back and they were like, "What happened to the rest of them?" He's like, "They're dead," and they're like, "You killed them." So
they knew.
I thought that was what it was.
I think it's that he had gathered people to fight back to kill the whalers, and then it failed.
He was responsible for their death. Yeah. Oh, well, that makes more sense. No. So I don't have a problem with that.
That's good then.
That's good.
Okay, my last hit pick has nothing to do with the movie. It has something to do with the previews I saw before the movie.
Ooh.
Quantumania, Ant-Man Quantumania actually looked kind of cool.
Yeah.
I had only seen the trailer on my computer, and I was like, okay, yeah, I don't know. But with the sound system and everything, and that like cover of whatever, I forget what the song is.
Oh, so it was a classic rock song. Was it Painted Back? Oh, yeah, it's a Bowie song.
It's David Bowie.
Starman.
Yes.
It's the Starman waiting.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think it's Starman.
It's like a slow
But anyways,
version.
I was like, whoa, I'm actually excited for this now. The visuals look really interesting. But like it's classic trailer tricks. Like I'm more interested in seeing the movie now, but the chances that it are still bad are just as bad.
I guess I'm going to hit this button because you just moved us into now playing.
Yeah, fair enough. And then what came after that was Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And
which looks like they changed the tone. It's going to be the dark one.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like, this is a total toss-up. It could be good, could be bad.
Be good.
They've been good.
Yeah. Even the second one, which wasn't as good.
I like when Drax was like, I'm going to kill everyone. It's like, I'll kill one guy that no one loves.
That's a good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Chris Pratt seems like he's over all this at this point. I feel like he's working so much that he's just
He was in
exhausted.
2 trailers. He was in the Mario too. Oh man, the Mario trailer.
He's doing Mario, and like even in Thor: Love and Thunder, he seemed like he was kind of like, yeah, I guess I'm still doing this role, but like whatever. I don't really.
Yo, in Mario, it doesn't. He's like, hey, I'm Mario. Let's go.
Yeah,
It's like,
let's
what?
go.
He just has a little idiom he says with
think,
an accent.
I think they're not having him like speak at length on purpose in these trailers because people are gonna like they're only really having him go ooh ah what oh no, and then like some catchphrases like let's go, and then at the end of the cart,
But why would
on
he
the Mario
have an
Kart,
accent when he
he's
says
like,
let's go?
Wahoo! It's
Yeah.
like
They did a 2-minute clip at the Game Awards. They showed like, a middle section of the movie, and he talks a little bit more, but it's Chris Pratt, and then when he's making specific sounds, it's Mario. Like it's just like one or the other. It's not like a melding of the two.
there's
That's
No.
why the let's go thing is so stupid, because the reason why Mario says let's go is because it's his Italian accent. He's saying it's a thing where we go, let's go.
Yeah.
But if it's Chris Pratt,
Exactly.
he's doing like a Brooklyn voice,
Yeah.
so he's gonna kind of sound like this, I guess, sort of.
but
like,
it's not
I'm
even
from
that
Brooklyn.
strong. It's way more subtle
It's
than that.
very, very subtle, because I feel like Chris Pratt can't probably do one.
I think it was smart to make it more subtle, but I just think that it was a bad.
There are moments of that trailer that look sweet though.
I think that anything that doesn't include Mario looks fucking awesome.
I like the parts where like it looks like a level, like there's
Yeah.
coin boxes and stuff. It looks good.
Unfortunately, they got Illumination, the studio, to do it, which is the studio
Minions.
behind Minions and Despicable Me, and they did the Grinch movie, which was bad
So why was this a bad choice? You just don't think they're a good
because
studio?
they don't make good movies.
They kind of just do the sellout movies.
Yeah, it's like I was talking to Lauren about this. That like Pixar is so good at having these like deep, like they're kids movies, but they have something deeper, and there's like there's a sense of what is appropriate. I guess I'm trying to be like think of the children, but like the Minions movies and Despicable Me just like have so many points where people are just like the whole funny thing is like people getting bashed on the head
Yeah.
or like kicked in the nuts or like what it's just like it's fine to have some moments like that in a kids movie, but it's like that's like the basis of the humor.
100%. I think like the most pretentious way I could explain it is like Pixar is cinema, whereas Illumination is content.
Yes.
And it's just like it's not enriching anyone's life. It's just entertaining and stupid and dumb.
This movie is marketing. It's not. They're not making it because they thought they could have a really cool take on Mario. Although I'm not going to speak for the writer. I'm sure he was like, or she.
How dare you?
I think the design.
It's
yeah.
probably a guy.
I think the
but-
design and the animation is stunning, and I'm excited about that. But you're right. The movie exists as a corporate endeavor first, translated into something creative, not as an expression of someone's soul out.
Yeah.
And I think that's always a bad sign for a movie. Sometimes it can be fine, but I think in general, most people prefer the like, someone had to express this idea and then they got funding to make it happen, not,
my God.
we have a cool franchise that we could exploit. Speaking of franchise we could
So
exploit.
the writer is Matthew Fogel, who wrote Minions: The Rise of Gru.
Ugh. I haven't seen that one. Fair.
He did the
Okay.
story for Lego Movie 2,
That's just not as good.
which is okay, but it's definitely not
better
as
than
good as
Minions.
Yo,
but not-
speaking of trailers though, that Barbie trailer. What?
I didn't see it. It wasn't in mine. I've seen people talking about it. I still haven't seen
You
it.
should watch it. It's just a teaser trailer, and it's. I don't want to spoil it for you.
Well,
You haven't seen it?
you can't spoil the trailer.
You kind of could.
It's crazy, dude.
Well, it's like they're in like Toyland or whatever, right? They're not toys, but it's like a Barbie world.
Let me just say this. It is not like the trailer for this movie. This movie is directed by Greta. What's her last name again?
Gerwig.
Gerwig. And also
They're written by Noah Baumbach.
Baumbach's in there too.
What?
Yes.
Noah Baumbach?
It's insane.
Like indie movie guy?
Yeah,
like Marriage Story.
What?
And another one with
So
Adam
the
Sandler.
trailer is bonkers.
What in the world? Okay.
It's like they were. I think it's a smart move actually, because they could just make it super commercial and stuff. They're like,
Yeah, well, there's already a whole franchise of Barbie movies that exist for kids or whatever. But
Yeah.
this one I think will have really broad
Sorry,
appeal.
what? He wrote. I thought that. What's his name? Anderson?
Cooper.
Nope. No, Anderson last
Silva.
name. The auteur guy, the flat
Wes.
shots.
Paul Thomas
Wes Anderson.
Oh,
I thought he like wrote all this stuff too, but it says that Noah Baumbach wrote The Life Aquatic
Sure.
and Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Sure.
interesting. But
And he wrote Madagascar 3.
Fantastic.
Well, there's several writing credits on lots of movies.
And the Squid and the Whale is obviously his like big breakout
big
one.
breakout.
Anyways, I recommend watching the trailer.
I recommend watching the trailer.
It's a
Okay.
left hook.
Will do.
Speaking of Guardians of the Galaxy, I watched the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special.
Oh yeah, I started watching it.
I think it's worth it. It's
How long is
45 minutes.
We were like, maybe this is appropriate for McLean because, it's like a Christmas special, but there was just too much like people just fighting each other and
sure.
just like, all right.
I think it's good. I think it's like, it's a solid.
James gives me a smirk.
Well, I'm laughing because I was watching a UFC fight with Reg on the couch the other day, and Larissa came in and was like, "What? You can't let her see that?
Which is like,
She'll be punching
I
kids."
feel like I've questioned, I question this every time you're basing it off of your childhood, I guess, where you just saw everything. But do you want Reg to be fucked up like you are, James?
No, well, I didn't even want her to like know about guns or have toy guns or anything. But then she watched some like animated Power Rangers type of show, and like she knows what guns are now. She even said when I was watching a movie with me, like for the first 10 minutes the other day, and she's like, "He has a gun," and I was like, "You know the word gun?"
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, we had a crazy time recently where like McLean hung out with his cousin, and his cousin was like picked up a gun and was like, or he didn't even pick up a gun. It was like he was pretending something was a gun and was like, "Do." And then later McLean did the same thing. I'm like, when have you seen someone have a gun? We don't show you anything with
Well, the
things
thing
with
is, you got to
guns.
let go. Like your kids learn so much from
No,
daycare.
I'm not like having an aneurysm over it. I was just like,
Reg
what
keeps
the heck?
saying everything is Super Mario, and then because some kids at daycare talk about it, and then I saw like this Christmas tree that was themed with Mario, and I was like, "Look, Reg, who's that?" And she had no idea.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I was like, "That's Super Mario," and she was like, "Oh."
Yeah, no.
Like
no,
she just only heard the word.
Yeah.
I'm not like having panic attacks because like, oh no, he knows what guns are. But I just mean like, I was just confused. I'm like, where did you learn that? I was just so confused.
Yeah. But yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy Solid 7, it does the good Christmas stuff where like it's schmaltzy and like sweet in the right ways, but it's still Guardians of the Galaxy. If you like Guardians of the Galaxy, highly recommend watching it.
There is like a reveal of something, right? Is there some like kind of
Nugget?
information?
Sort of. Yeah, just watch it.
Okay.
Just watch it. It's like, don't watch it for the reveal. I think like,
Well, but that's the only reason I would watch it.
Then read
know,
it.
like
Then read the
Christmas-
Wikipedia.
I watched like a third of it, and I was kind of like,
okay.
The vibes. It seemed more amateur. Like it seemed. I thought that it would be basically just like a little Guardians of the Galaxy movie, but it seemed like an intern at Marvel got the permission to make it.
I didn't get the sense. I get it feels more James Gunn in the sense that it's like scrappy and small.
Yeah.
They build this big set, which is like the whatever they're called, the freelancer planet or whatever. It's fucking awesome. That set, I'm sure they built it for the third one, and they're like, we need to capitalize on this set and produce more content
is
on
that the
it.
place where the guy like sings the Christmas song or whatever in the beginning?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, you'll see like later they kind of show more of it, and it's just like it's a great set. But I think you're wrong. I think it's great.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just
bet.
saying, okay, jeez.
I'm kidding. I also
James is yawning.
speaking of Christmas specials,
over.
have you guys ever watched Murderville?
No.
No.
Okay, highly recommend that. Sort of. The first season is 6 episodes. The setup is it's like a murder mystery where Will Arnett is a character. He's like a police, and they bring in a new character who doesn't know what's going on. They're like a celebrity, and they have to improv their way through
I
and
saw
figure
that,
out
yeah.
who does the murder.
This
and
looked
so
interesting.
It's just like improv and silly, and it can be really funny, but it can also be cringe in the way that improv always is. So
Yeah.
like there's an episode with Kumail Nanjiani, and it's the fucking funniest thing. Like I was literally crying laughing. But then there's an episode with Alexa from Schitt's Creek, and she just doesn't have like the improv
Oh,
speed.
really?
And it's kind of just like, it's okay.
Wait, that's the sister?
Yes.
Oh, man.
But then there's a Christmas special, and it's Jason Bateman and Maya Rudolph, and then a third person.
What?
And it's fucking hilarious. I forget how funny Maya Rudolph is.
She's so funny.
So fucking funny.
I loved her on SNL,
Highly
yeah.
recommend. You don't have to watch the other stuff. Just watch the Murderville. It's like 45 minutes. It's the funniest sketch shit I've seen in a long time.
Maya Rudolph is one of my favorite comedic
Then
actors.
you'll love her.
I've been
great.
watching a lot of
Kristen
Theo
Wiig.
Vaughn lately. That guy is so funny, man.
Theo Vaughn, the podcast guy?
He has like Netflix comedy specials as well.
Oh, does he? Oh, okay. I didn't know he was a
stand-up, but-
comedian. I only knew him from the podcast.
If
but-
you just watch compilations from him on a podcast, man, he is so stupid and hilarious, man. Like,
Oh, man.
I love his whole thing. I love
I'm
it.
not going to check that out, but
Watch his
I will
2021.
check.
If you watch the first 10 minutes of his 2021 stand-up, like, it is hilarious.
Are there guns in it?
Only stick guns.
But I will watch Murderville. I'm
Highly
gonna check that
recommend.
out.
Yeah,
Okay.
just watch the Christmas one. It might be the best episode.
All right, we need to end this.
Yes.
See you later. Tweet at us
Come back next week for the last
Finale.
episode.
at TJM Pod.
The ultimate episode.
This is penultimate.
Joker Redux.
Redux.
Love you.
See you later.
Wow. James doesn't even care about people coming back.
That's over.
This is the end.
It was a lie anyways.